can watch Mike Pringle, the CFL's best running back. He's a force on the ground who gets stronger and stronger as the game goes on.
No matter what the play call is, I feel like I'm going to make something happen. And I can tell my linemen, they get in the zone, they get excited, they believe in themselves more and more. As I do better, my offensive line does better.
You can watch Steve Sarkisian, a star of the future. It's been a rough ride for the young quarterback, but he promises his club won't be intimidated by Montreal.
I think the big thing for us is start strong. Let's get after them early. Let's let them know, hey, you guys are going to be in a ball game, and let's fight in 4 quarters.
Ex-Alouette Mike Saunders aims to break the 1,000-yard mark in Montreal. Willie Pless is the heart of the Rider defense. His tackling prowess is vital against Pringle. The Montreal native Michael Scholes will have Pless in his sights at the point of attack. Steve Charbonneau says, grab a chair and enjoy. Go deep! The road to the Grey Cup can sometimes feel like climbing a mountain, and that's especially the case today as we find ourselves on the side of Mount Royal in downtown Montreal. Molson Stadium is the site as the 9-4 Montreal Alouettes get set to take on the 3-10 Saskatchewan Roughriders. Good afternoon, I'm Tom Harrington, and welcome to the CFL on CBC, and happy Thanksgiving to you. I hope you've had a great one so far. Well, on this spectacular October Monday, perhaps the CFL's Alouettes should be thanking the CFL schedule makers. After all, they're facing a Riders team that just last weekend they pounded, a Riders team that has not won a game on the road, a Riders team that has not won a game in Montreal since 1984. Saskatchewan is an overwhelming underdog, but that's the kind of team that head coach Charlie Tapp of the Alouettes fears the most. With their thoughts on today's game, let's say happy Thanksgiving and hello to Mark Lee and Glenn Suter.
Hey, thanks a lot, Tom. Well, a big quarterback change has everybody's attention in Montreal this weekend. The CFL's top-rated passer, Anthony Calvillo, is giving up the reins of the Montreal Alouettes offense to the veteran Tracy Ham, who's coming back from injury.
It has been a tough week for head coach Charlie Tapp, trying to make a decision as to who will start in this game this afternoon. Both quarterbacks have had success this year. Anthony Calvillo is 5-2 as a starter, Tracy Ham 4-2, but Charlie Tapp has a very simple philosophy. A veteran established player cannot lose his job due to injury. He wants to remain consistent throughout the year with his decisions, and that's why Tracy Ham starts.
How about Saskatchewan's starting quarterback today? Steve Sarkisian has Brigham Young pedigree, but he throws too many interceptions.
Yeah, Steve Sarkisian each game makes one mistake, two mistakes, two bad plays that cost his team the game. He's got to not try and win the football game on every single play within himself. He is the future at the position.
And he'll match minds with this cagey safety.
Yeah, Lester Smith is the job. He's going to read Sarkisian's eyes, go to the football, and try and pick up the ball. He had an interception against Sarkisian last week. It's up to Sarkisian to get him out of the middle with his eyes.
And on defense, Willie Pless has a priority, and that's Mike Pringle.
Hey, when you're playing against the Montreal Alouettes, you have got to stop Mike Pringle on first down. That'll be the job of Willie Pless. One of the best tacklers in CFL history. He's going to have a big game this afternoon. He's going to have to.
Yeah, he will. That said, Glenn, what are your game notes today?
Well, I think for Saskatchewan, it's involving the running backs. Mike Saunders has got to touch the football all game from start to finish. When he runs the football well, they win. Stop Mike Pringle. Everybody knows that when you're going to play Montreal, they're going to run the ball with Pringle. You got to stop him. For Montreal, Ham hasn't played for a while. He's got to shake off some rust, and Charlie Tapp had some concerns last week with some big plays against the secondary, and he wants to eliminate them this afternoon.
And at stake for the home team today, a win will clinch a playoff spot for the Alouettes, and they'll give thanks if that happens this afternoon. Back down to Tom.
Well, Mark, immediately after our game is the second course of our Thanksgiving football feast. The BC Lions hosting the Edmonton Eskimos, and with a taste of what's to come, here is Chris Welby.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving. I'm here today cooking a little pregame meal for myself, and I might just share some of it. This is before the big game between the BC Lions and the Edmonton Eskimos. But what's on the menu for today? Well, you got the BC Lions, possibly one win away from clinching first place, and they say the Eskimos are their turkey. But on the other hand, you got the Eskimos in danger of missing the playoffs for the first time in 27 years, and they say, hey, our bird isn't cooked. Then you got Greg Mons, the master chef of the BC Lions, keeping all his ingredients happy and active. He figures he's the beast, and they're going to feast on the Eskimos. And on the other side, you got Don, the Don of football, Don Matthews, who says he'll gobble up everything the BC Lions throw at it and spit out the carcass. We got a great game on hand, and you know what? This bird's just about done. So, hey, anybody want to help me with this? Whoa! He loves you, baby. Oh boy, I tell you what, with the budget I'm on, I think I'm going to be about a bird or two short. So, hey, anyway, back to you guys in Montreal.
Got to wear body armor at that dinner table tonight, Chris, I think. A beautiful day in Montreal, absolutely perfect. 14 degrees, a little bit of a wind that could be a factor. It also rained last night, so the fields could be fairly slick. Watch for that during the game today. And just a reminder that coming up on our Canadian Airlines halftime show, Mark Lee will have a report on Larry Smith, heavily criticized as CFL commissioner, but credited with resurrecting the Alouettes. Also for a preview of our second game today and halftime highlights. Let's go to Mark and Glenn in the booth, guys.
All right, Tom, and another big crowd sellouts, the order of the season here in Montreal this year on a glorious Thanksgiving Day afternoon. Saskatchewan rookie head coach Cal Murphy, a veteran in this league, but still looking for his 100th win as a coach, and of course that would put him in elite company with the likes of Bud Grant and Eagle Keys. Charlie Taff, a rookie here in Montreal, building a 9-4 first place situation right now. A tough week for him, making the big decision to start the veteran Tracy Ham over to the Calvillo. Here's Thomas Haskins with the opening kickoff return for Montreal. Straight ahead across the 35 to about the 37-yard line. Good field position on a 24-yard return as the veteran Tracy Ham makes his first start since September the 2nd. He threw only one pass last week against Saskatchewan. That was intercepted.
Yeah, and he'll have some rust that he'll have to get out. He hasn't played in a while, like you mentioned. Tracy Ham gets the nod because Charlie Taff, like we mentioned, will not let a starter lose his job because of injuries.
Tyree Davis back after the concussion 2 weeks ago.
And the offensive line has been together all season. It's been the consistent factor throughout this lineup offensively.
So here goes Tracy Ham. His first start in a month. The 5th all-time leading passer in the CFL will throw on his first play from scrimmage. Downfield, and it's complete, but then dropped. Browning had it, and then was drilled by Willie Pless and couldn't hold on. And so the Saskatchewan defense rising up here with some hard knocks to start this first series.
Well, it'll be up to those three guys. Those are the defensive linemen to keep the offensive linemen off Willie Pless and Ken Benson, the linebacking core, so that they can flow to the football and make tackles on Mike Pringle. The secondary gets Benson Donaldson in the lineup after the injury to Douglas Kraft in practice.
And they need to dig down because they are the lowest secondary for interceptions in the CFL with 8. Ham back to pass, intended for Davis on the play, but it's errant, and so it'll be 2 and out for Ham's first series at quarterback here this afternoon.
Tyree Davis back in the lineup, and we'll be watching him closely simply because he took the huge hit from Rob Hitchcock a couple of weeks ago. And this is his first game back, and that time he went into the middle and looked very tentative going after that football. Tracy Ham couldn't find him. And see how he can shake off that big hit and get back in the game.
Terry Baker, the number 2 punter in the CFL with a 47-yard average. The oldest man on this Alouette team at 37 is showing no signs of age this season. Gets away a good punt. And it's deep. Gulliford at his 25 has it, but great coverage by the Montreal punt cover team to limit the return to 6 yards on a 48-yard punt from Baker.
Decent start for Saskatchewan. What they need to do is take the crowd out of it, because the sellout crowd here, get behind Montreal, it's awful tough.
First down.
Illegal block.
Oh, yeah.
You have to read lips there.
Good lip reading there, Glenn. And so that'll push Saskatchewan back. And the field position that they thought was promising to start their first offensive series, not so great. Sarkisian with 17 picks. Number 1 in the league, tied with Kerwin Bell of Winnipeg. He needs to settle down, but Saunders, one of the top touchdown men in the league, having a great season.
Eric Gulliford back in the lineup at the receiving corps, shaking off that ankle injury, and they'll need him to try and stretch the defense.
And of course, the offensive line, all with Grey Cup experience from a couple of years ago, and all pretty healthy. They'll need to protect Sarkisian, so he has the time to make the reads that have been difficult here for him this season.
Pressure squarely on John Terry to keep Alfred Payton out of the backfield this afternoon.
Sarkisian will start in the shotgun, planted at his own 15-yard line. Will hand off to Saunders, right through the middle of the Montreal defense and very close to the first down marker across the 30-yard line. There are flags on the play.
Well, we talked about the pressure. Ben Fairbrother and John Terry and the offensive tackles are going to have to keep Alfred Payton out of the backfield. Of course, Payton with 14 sacks on the season so far.
Mike Saunders coming into the game 90 short of 1,000.
Saskatchewan number 84. Repeat first down.
So Gulliford tabbed for offside, and 2 penalties in a row for Saskatchewan. A tough way to start as we look at the defensive unit for Montreal.
They talked about Alfred Payton off the edge, and Sean Giddings, key for them. He's going to be matched up against Saunders, stopping the run, and Lester Smith, the veteran at free safety, had an interception last week when he picked off Sarkisian.
First and 15, and Sarkisian flubs the pass and then falls on it for a loss on the play. And this first series is turning into a disaster.
Yeah, a couple penalties have pushed the Saskatchewan Roughriders deep into their end, and then Sarkisian just lost the handle on the football when he tried to throw it. It was a timing pattern to the outside. He had to get rid of it in a hurry. You see it just slip straight out of his hands. A lot of times when you start the game, the football will have a film on it because they're brand new footballs for every game, and the quarterbacks will scrub it. Well, Sarkisian didn't scrub his good enough.
And now he's in a second and long situation. He'll hand it off to Saunders. Saunders with all kinds of real estate and a huge gain. Very close to the first down marker. He'll be about 2 or 3 short of the 31-yard line, and Payton, the rush end for Montreal, finally brings him down.
Well, they're going to have to punt the football, but what Mike Saunders did with that big run, and I love the call because chances of getting a first down in this situation aren't great. So you play conservative, you try and get some field position back, and that's exactly what Mike Saunders does in the play. Get some field position back, get your punt team on there, and punt the football away.
19-yard gain for the veteran from Iowa, who I mentioned was just 90 yards short of his third 1,000-yard rushing season coming into this game, and at that rate, 19 yards in that last carry. It looks like he's well on his way here this afternoon. Paul McCallum will punt, standing at his own 13-yard line. Winston October is deep for Montreal, looking into the sunshine. Forced back inside his own 35. Coverage by Sorensky on the play, and he's bottled up quickly with little or no gain. Just 2 yards on the 47-yard punt from Paul McCallum. And Jake Ireland is having a busy start to this afternoon here in Montreal. Ireland and Ross Saunders discussing this call.
Offside, Montreal, first down.
Coming into the game, both teams really not penalized a whole lot.
What a huge call here, because now that'll move the yardstick, and it'll be a first down for the Saskatchewan offense.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Penalties already affecting this football game. Cal Murphy had his team backed up and lost a lot of field position, but then get the makeup call on the offside, and now they're going to get the football back.
Murphy's team 0-6 on the road this year, 0-10 against Montreal, going back to when this team used to play out of Baltimore. Hoping to break that string here this afternoon. And so a first down situation as we see the road woes of Saskatchewan trying to get on track here. Play action pass, Sarkisian with time rolling out. It's caught by Eric Gulliford for another Saskatchewan first down as the short receiver goes high to bring that one down.
Eric Gulliford brings speed to the lineup, and when you have speed in your lineup, defensive backs respect it, and they have to give you some more room. And that's why Eric Gulliford can find that open area for Sarkisian to throw him the football. You got to back up and give a guy with that kind of speed some room. He's healthy again, back in the lineup, and you see the DBs way off from about 4 or 5 yards.
The key word there, speed. Cal Murphy saying this offense needs more speed and more big play potential. First down, Sarkisian will hand off to Mike Saunders, but Montreal was waiting for this one, although Saunders has 4 or 5 before he's stacked up.
That's a good point that you make, and that's what Cal Murphy was saying yesterday about the fact that they need the speed in the lineup. What they would like to do and what offenses love to have is a guy or 2 guys. You can throw the football on a 5-yard pass or give it to him on a play like this and have him break it. Just have the athlete make the big play. Mike Saunders has the capability, but after that, they've been searching for a guy. They think that Gulliford may be it.
Cal Murphy also saying that the team's biggest problem on offense has been interceptions, and so they've been mixing it here nicely. Sarkisian with some balance and time now. Will roll right, has a man open. It's complete to Dan Farley, and another Saskatchewan first down. So after a shaky start with penalties and some miscues, Saskatchewan is on the roll.
And right now what the Riders are doing offensively is they're moving the pocket for Sarkisian, and they're keeping the running game involved, and that'll take some pressure off of him. Steve Sarkisian can't just be a drop-back passer and let the Montreal Alouettes pin their ears back and get after him. He's got to move the pocket. He drops back now. He's going to move to his right, use his feet to buy some time, and then find a receiver in Dan Farthing downfield.
Saskatchewan has dressed 4 running backs, but they're only playing 1 right now in this set. 5 receivers. Handoff again underneath to Saunders, having to tiptoe before gets a hold of him and bear hugs him at the 50.
And the thing about this Montreal defense is that they're a conservative style of defense. They play a lot of zone defense. They'll let you get a couple yards. They'll let you move the football a little bit, and then they buckle down when it means most, and they come up with the big play. Their philosophy is, we want the offense to put together 10, 12-play drives. If they can do that, get some points, we'll give them credit for it.
That's what Cal Murphy was saying. We expect Montreal to play conservative defense and wait for us to make a mistake. Right now, Saskatchewan is clicking. Sarkisian out of the shotgun, rolling, buying all kinds of time. A good look downfield. Now some pressure from behind, and he can't find a receiver. He must have had 8 steamboats.
Yeah, he had all the steamboats he needed. The problem was he was rolling to his left, and most of his receivers were going the opposite direction. Don Narcisse was wide open in the middle of the field, but because Sarkisian was running to his left, he couldn't turn his body back to get the ball back across the field. He's going this way now. Going the opposite way is number 80, Don Narcisse, but he sees him, just can't get his body around in time. Now he's covered up. He's just got to eat the football, get his punt team on. That's the type of play, Mark, that Steve Sarkisian would force in previous games. Throw that interception.
So Cal Murphy likes that. If he can't find a man, he'll eat the ball as Richards caught him from behind. Punt situation. And Callum will try to angle it out of bounds, sending October to his 10 and out of bounds at the Montreal 16-yard line. And so a decent offensive series for Saskatchewan as Tracy Ham comes back to start again for Montreal.
The clock is ticking as we get closer to the end of the millennium, and who do you think is the best Canadian ever to play in the CFL? Now's your chance to vote. A panel of football experts has compiled a list of the top 20 Canadians. You can log on to our NFL or CFL and CBC website and cast a ballot. The fans' choice, by the way, will be featured at halftime on our Grey Cup telecast, guys.
Some really tough decisions there, too, because there's so many outstanding players. I mean, Russ Jackson, he's a gimme.
Yep.
Tony Gabriel, yeah.
I think Ray Elgaard's got to be in there.
Ray Elgaard's got to be in there. Alouettes now, second offensive series of the game. Scrimmaging from just across their own 11. The handoff is to Mike Pringle. He hurdles one defender and gets to about the 20-yard line on his first carry of the game, and he had no mercy for Saskatchewan last week, Glenn. 155 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, he really just kept coming at him because early in the game last week, they held Mike Pringle in check pretty well. In fact, he started out the game with negative yardage, but then he breaks 1 or 2, and then all of a sudden it starts to steamroll. He gets momentum, his offensive line get confidence, and then watch out.
Pless was keying this blocking of Mike Souls last week, looking for Mike Pringle. This time he ran by himself. The passing situation, and it's incomplete. Tracy Ham going across the middle to Ben Cahoon, but there were 2 men right on him.
Glenn Rogers Jr. in the lineup for his second start, and he brings some veteran experience to the secondary for the Saskatchewan Roughriders in a very good move. He's the guy who makes the play there, but you can see that Tracy Ham has a little bit of rust on him. Go after a veteran like Glenn Rogers, and you're gonna have to be on.
You know, I was asking him about the change at quarterback, and he said, you know, at no time did I press to come back. I had the ability, or at least the luxury, to wait until I was fully healed because Anthony Calvillo was going so well. And he said, I'm secure because football is not who I am, it's just what I do. Big punt from Terry Baker. Eric Gulliford across the 45 to 50, breaks a tackle. And it's dropped just shy of center field. A 49-yard punt from Baker and a 12-yard return for Gulliford. Back to Montreal after this. The Roughriders are 3-10, but they still have a chance to make the playoffs in the West, and that's ample motivation for Steve Sarkisian.
We're hungry. We might be a little bit more hungry than Montreal, just from the aspect that this is a must-win game for us. This is a game we need to win if we want to get into the playoffs.
And of course, later today on our Thanksgiving Day doubleheader, Edmonton at BC, they're 4-9. Should they lose and Saskatchewan wins, we've got a tie for that last spot in the West. Sarkisian will pass to Gulliford. It's complete and he takes a pounding on the play. Mark Washington in on the tackle.
That's when you know if you're healthy, when you're coming back from an injury. You take a hit like that from Mark Washington, and you can figure out in a hurry whether or not you're ready to go.
It looked like Sarkisian was having trouble again with the ball as he took that shotgun snap and bobbled momentarily. He's already lost it once in this game. Second down and about 4 at midfield for Saskatchewan. The handoff is to Saunders, and he's hit immediately right at the line of scrimmage. Maybe even a small loss on the play.
Albert Payton was not buying the play fake. Sarkisian went to the outside, and what Sarkisian wants to do with the play is try and freeze Albert Payton, make him respect the fact that he may still have the football, and Payton's seen this one before on film and said, I'm going right to Mike Saunders immediately. Sarkisian is wide open to the outside. Of course, he didn't have the rock in his hand.
Looks like he's hurt, Glenn, on that play. He's holding his right arm as he goes off. That would be a huge loss. He's the #1 quarterback sack player on this team with 14.
And defensive linemen need to use their hands. Pass rush moves.
McCallum the punt. Again, a line drive, angling it out of bounds. October back, stays in bounds at his own 3. Gets across the 10 and is finally tackled at the 13. So he makes up 10 yards on the play on another coffin corner kick by McCallum. Tracy Ham, as we mentioned, will have rust coming into this game. There's no question about that. You can't miss 4 or 5 football games and not feel that. Ham, though, is confident because of his experience.
I've always gotten butterflies from day one of playing football. As soon as I put my helmet on, I get little butterflies just to get the early contact, to get a feel for the game. I'm always thinking of what adjustments are they going to make on defense.
That's been the thing for Tracy Ham, as he's evolved as a quarterback. He used to just use his legs when he first started and run when he didn't see what he liked, but he became a great pocket passer as well, and now he's a student of the game. Now he goes through the game plan, and that's why, and he also understands the big picture and understands how important it was to treat this situation properly, and I think Charlie Tapp did just that.
Delay on the field as they help the linebacker Ken Benson off the field. Had a huge game last week with 6 tackles to lead the Saskatchewan defense, but it looks like he's going to be okay.
Well, it's tough on Saskatchewan's defense when he goes out, because Willie Pless then slides over to play his position. So now one injury makes 2 moves in the defense.
Ham going to work at his own 13-yard line. With time to pass. Looks off one receiver. Going deep. Haskins is wide open in center field. Fortas, Gallick tries to track him down and finally does across the 30-yard line. A huge gain as Tracy Ham looked right then left and found his open man.
Tracy Ham was playing games with the rookie at free safety, Curtis Gallick. Tracy Ham, watch number 25, Curtis Gallick in the middle of your screen. You see, he's going to watch Tracy Ham. He moves to his right, so now he's going to break open. See Ham look him off, and then go right back to the middle. Curtis Gallick has vacated the middle of the football field. There is nobody there, and Thomas Haskins makes him pay for it.
Big play football, a 67-yard gain. The give is to Mike Pringle, and Pringle bashes through the interior of the Saskatchewan defensive line, and finally hauled down by Mamadali Ali.
Well, when you're a quarterback and you throw a completion like that, the butterflies disappear. So to hear Tracy Ham talk about his butterflies, well, they're gone now. They all disappeared in the Montreal skyline. Now he's playing. Now he's back on track. Great read by a veteran, and he looked off the safety.
2nd and 7. Montreal inside the 30-yard line at about the 27. Ham back to pass again. Time. Into a crowd. It's complete to Ben Cahoon, and another Montreal first down.
Well, Ben Cahoon made a very difficult catch look easy, because there was not a lot of room for Tracy Ham to throw that football into the zone defense by Saskatchewan. That's a team meeting at Ben Cahoon. He kept concentration on the football, used his hands to bring it down and not let that ball hit his body.
Cahoon had been a featured receiver in the Calvillo offense, and the veteran Ham goes right to him early. First down, Montreal in the red zone. Tyree Davis has it. No good. Tried to keep 1 foot in bounds, but with Donaldson all over his back, he couldn't stay in.
Tyree Davis running the out pattern, and you know what I like about this is that Tracy Ham is really throwing the ball with authority. He doesn't look like he's missed a whole month of football. When he hit Thomas Haskins, it was a great read, and oh, that's a dart to the sideline. It's very close as to whether or not you only need 1 foot.
1 foot, hard to tell there.
Really hard.
2nd and 10. Ball at the 19. Ham back to pass. Deep. Looks like a misread on that play, but there's a flag and potentially pass interference against Saskatchewan.
Well, Glenn Rogers Jr. is upset, and I think he's got a case. What the Saskatchewan secondary did is the 2 veterans on the corner. You got Benson Donaldson out there and Glenn Rogers Jr., and what they did is they switched the receiver. The receivers crossed. When they crossed, they switched men. The ball was well overthrown and not catchable. And if this is against Saskatchewan, Glenn Rogers has an argument.
Maybe they're trying the pick on that play, and defense got caught.
That's exactly what they were trying to do. Is Haskins goes to the out, and Tyree Davis comes inside, and they try and pick the secondary. Of course, offenses call it rubs.
Illegal contact on an eligible receiver. Saskatchewan number 24. Repeat, 2nd down.
Well, illegal contact is not pass interference. It's a difference. And you can have illegal contact anywhere on the football field. It doesn't matter if the ball's in the air or not. And that must have happened. You see there's a pile up right in the middle of that screen. The ball was well overthrown, so no pass interference was called, but apparently the officials felt that there was too much contact right at the point of attack.
So they'll move the ball to the 7-yard line. 2nd and 3 for the Alouettes.
See, that's the other difference is that...
No, they've changed it again. It's a 1st down.
Yeah.
As Jake Ireland instructs the chain gang to move the marker up.
Yeah, that's automatic 1st down, illegal contact and pass interference. So that gives Tracy Ham basically 3 cracks at it. When you got 27 in the backfield from there, you better bow your neck on defense.
Michael Souls, the lead fullback, is wide right. Pringle alone in the backfield. He'll take the handoff straight upfield, makes 1 move, carries a couple of Saskatchewan defenders all the way to the 1.
How good is Mike Pringle? Well, he made future Hall of Famer and linebacker one of the best tacklers in the game. He ran right through his arms. Willie Pless was stepping up. Watch number 39 step up clean and have a great crack at him right there in the hole. And Pringle kind of threw him aside and picked up another 3 yards.
2nd and goal. Pringle this time with a lead block and a touchdown for the Alouettes.
Explosion from the offensive line at the point of attack. When you get down to the goal line or in your short yardage situation, it's who gets lowest and who gets the good drive off the football. And really, Mike Pringle had the pretty easy lane into the end zone. See Pierre Berchevaux get his guy way to the outside. Pless again has a crack at him. That gets him down to the 1-yard line and punches it in from there.
He had a piano and Steve Connolly on his back all the way to the 1. Tremendous power as Pringle scores his 8th rushing touchdown of the season, and the Alouettes take the lead at home here on Thanksgiving. Mike Pringle on the Montreal bench getting some instructions from the Alouette spotters up top.
Watch the great block by Azumo KK right there on Arkel Trueluck. I talked about offensive lineman firing out. See how low he is? See how Arkel Trueluck got stood straight up and bounced back into the end zone? They think Azumo KK is the best offensive lineman in the league. And you know what? I don't think Mike Pringle would have an argument with that.
There's a bobbled kick return by Reggie Jones, the rookie. Finally picks it up at his own 5, breaks a tackle, and bobbles it again! And the Alouettes have it as Tracy Gravely at the 5.
Saskatchewan Roughriders all year, how to overcome adversity. Things happen bad in the football game to every team. The good teams find a way to fight back. Montreal comes back with a couple of big offensive plays and punches in with Pringle, and then on the next kickoff, lose the football again, and now Montreal has a chance to put another major on the board.
The third fumble recovery of the season for the veteran Tracy Gravely. Here it is again.
But Reggie Jones never really had the handle. I mean, he wasn't securing the football. When there's bullets flying around like that, got to put both hands on the ball, make sure you retain possession. You got to take care of that thing.
And so it's first and goal, just inside the Saskatchewan 5 for Montreal. Hands off to Pringle. Pringle still going, driven back at about the 2.
Mark, it's early in the game, but this is a big series for Cal Murphy and his defense. If they can hold Montreal to a field goal, it's a win for them. And look at the amount of problems they've had in the turnover category this year. I mean, a minus 21 is going to win you many games.
So Saskatchewan now in tough, in deep, second and goal on the 2 for Montreal. Hands off to Pringle again. To the goal line. No touchdown.
They're saying his knee went down before the ball crossed the plane to the goal line. Montreal, they're not arguing really right now about whether or not it was a touchdown. They're just trying to decide whether or not to go for it.
And I think the rookie Badali made initial contact.
Yeah, Bob Badali, yeah, there he is right in there. He makes contact. See, he definitely is down before the ball crosses the plane. An excellent call by the official in a very tough situation. Shannon Garrett also in there, and he makes some contact. See how he goes down? Now the gamble.
Now the gamble. Third and goal from the 1. There's all kinds of movement on the play. Ham still has the ball. Michael Lawson came crashing across from the rush end position.
Well, were they drawn offside, or was Saskatchewan just trying to anticipate the snap count and jumped offside on their own?
Here's Jake Ireland with the call.
Offside. Saskatchewan, number 93. First down.
So 3 cracks from the 1 for Montreal.
Frustrating for Cal Murphy, no question, because they have a chance for a goal line stand, and there's the offside. Clearly, Lawson is in the backfield, no question about it. And now Montreal will get the major.
Of course, Saskatchewan missing Big Neil Smith out with a shoulder injury along that defensive line. First down and goal. Pringle, crashing, touchdown! Pringle, and his 9th rushing touchdown of the season to go with his 1 receiving, and he hit double figures, and Ham clicking on offense.
Now he takes advantage, and you can see the frustration on the Saskatchewan sideline because this is a huge momentum shift. You got the sellout crowd now behind your team, a huge lead, taking advantage of a turnover, and Saskatchewan had them stopped on a 3rd down gamble, but we're offside.
The point after Terry Baker is good. And the Alouettes, on 2 touchdowns by Pringle, lead at 14-0.
Close.
5 touchdowns in 5 quarters of football for Mike Pringle against Saskatchewan.
Defensively, this is an emotional letdown. When you have a team in 3rd down and Tracy Ham was running to the outside, he was stopped on that 3rd down, and then they get the penalty. They got to line up again, and look at this. That's 2 guys, Benson, Ken Benson, and Willie Pless, right in the hole, and Pringle goes right through him.
So the capacity crowd here at Percival Molson Stadium enjoying this sunny afternoon and a 14-0 lead.
Mark, this
for
is
the home team.
This is a huge series, Mark, for Steve Sarkisian. Although that guy's not sure of the importance of it. He just wants to get his drink out. But Sarkisian's got to come back and stop this momentum in a hurry.
Or quickly, it'll force you out of your offensive game plan when you've got to play catch-up football.
Yeah, and Steve Sarkisian's offensive game plan is Mike Saunders. I mean, you have to have Mike Saunders involved, and now they almost have to start abandoning it this early in the football game, although I don't think they should.
Here they go again. Mayfield has it on a fake. Flag on the play is one of the Alouettes. was drilled from behind. Davida Kazidi, or Kaz as he's called, was knocked down. Yeah, there's a flag on the play.
Yeah, we're just going to call him Kaz. I believe Nikiasen was the guy who clipped him. Here comes the call.
Illegal block. Saskatchewan number 20. First down.
Kennedy Nikiasen, yeah, he was the guy who got the clipping call on Kaz. We'll just call him Kaz.
Call him Kaz. Now, Cal is bursting into spontaneous combustion on the sideline as Kaz goes off. Kaz and Cal.
That was a stare that you don't want to have as a player. You see that? Nikiasen walked off and Cal just looked him down.
Murphy fuming. Sean Daniels is in the game at fullback. He's meant for protection. Passing play to Gulliford. It's complete for a Saskatchewan first down.
All year for Saskatchewan, it's the little things. It's hanging on to the football, that extra second, concentrating, not having a bust in coverage like we saw Curtis Gallick do early in the game to get some momentum for Montreal on the Thomas Haskins catch. The little things that make the difference between winning teams and losing teams.
Gain was 14 on that pass to Gulliford. First down as the Saskatchewan Roughriders try to move out of their own zone. Some movement on the defensive line. The handoff to Saunders, a big hole, and he's knocked down at the 29. Lester Smith, the safety, filling in the secondary for Montreal. But right now, Murphy fuming as his team is down by 2 converted touchdowns. Welcome back to Montreal, where they're enjoying their 6th sellout of the season. 19,641 fans at Molson Stadium, and a 14-0 lead for the Alouettes. And the first quarter stats, Glenn.
Well, you look at the rushing yards, it's 27 for Saskatchewan. You know Montreal's rushing yards are going to pick up a little bit. Turnovers hurting Saskatchewan, turning into points immediately. Saskatchewan can't abandon their game plan offensively because they're really not playing badly offensively. As you see, the time of possession is very close.
Exactly. Sarkisian is 4 for 4 for 38 yards passing.
Yeah, he's made good decisions. He's hung on to the football when he's had to, and he's thrown the ball with authority. So what they can't do is control fumbles and control their defense giving up 2 touchdowns. Now what they got to do is just keep with their game plan, keep Saunders involved, and play smart football at this point.
2nd and 5, Saskatchewan. Sarkisian back to pass, pressure, sacked. Dropped immediately by Jason Richards. And so the drive is snuffed.
When you're on a defensive line that features Alfred Payton, you don't get talked about very much. Jason Richards and Ed Filion in the middle are kind of the forgotten men in that defensive line. But I tell you what, the coaching staff here in Montreal, they know who they are, because these guys have played tremendous football from start to finish, and they had big shoes to fill. Doug Peterson played there last year, and Ed Filion and Jason Richards have picked up the slack in a big way.
So Paul McCollum will stand back at his own 6 to punt. Alouettes setting up a return, a high spiraling kick coming down to Winston October at his 40-yard line. And he is hogtied and wrestled back for a loss on the play. Girodo makes the tackle, the first man down. Paul Girodo, the sophomore out of UBC. Well, back come the Alouettes on offense, and once again, Willie Pless is going to have his hands full dealing with Mike Pringle. That is the point of attack in the Montreal offense. And here's what Pless had to say about that yesterday.
You might shut him down 18 plays in the first half, but for sure he's going to get the ball again another 18 times, and that's the confidence they have in Mike, and also his offensive line. They do a great job of creating gaps for him, and he does a good job. If you don't have the gap, he's going to try to run straight over you.
Tracy Ham, they're calling it a fumble. Looked like he was trying to throw, pulling it down, lost his grip. We saw that happen to Sarkisian.
Yeah, he's trying to talk the refs into it right now. He's over there saying, I was in the throwing motion. That's an incomplete pass.
It looked like a throwing motion. Saskatchewan signaling it's their ball.
Well, here, you get a look at it right now. Well, it looked like it made a big, the way he turned it around, it may have been a pump fake.
Yeah.
And that's why the refs felt that he was trying to pump the ball and not throw the football, and it slips out of his hands. And Saskatchewan has their first turnover and a chance to snap some momentum in a hurry.
So Ham frustrated.
What's on the football?
No kidding.
That pigskin is slick.
Saw it happen to Sarkisian. We saw Reggie Jones have trouble pulling in a kickoff. And now Tracy Ham. Fumbling the ball, Saskatchewan taking over at the Montreal 35-yard line. First down. Saskatchewan back to a 5-receiver set. Sarkisian going deep. Open is Curtis Mayfield. Touchdown Saskatchewan, just like that.
Got to take advantage of the sudden change situation and come up with some points, and Sarkisian makes them pay when they try and blitz him.
Mark Washington on one-on-one coverage, and Superfly puts Saskatchewan on the board.
Yeah, Mark Washington heads right down the seam and comes up with the touchdown. Excuse me, Mayfield with the touchdown right down the seam on Mark Washington. Now watch this. Sarkisian realizes that it's zero coverage, meaning there's no help in the middle of the field, and his guy that's going down the middle of the field is Curtis Mayfield on Mark Washington.
So Mayfield with his 8th receiving touchdown of the season. Right after from McCallum, there's a flag on the play.
Part of the credit there you have to give to the offensive line in Saskatchewan, because they were sending the pressure. Mayfield got in behind Washington.
Flag on that convert. Here's Ireland with the call.
Offside. Montreal number 57. The convert is good. 5 yards on the kickoff.
So the penalty will be applied on the kickoff, but the Roughriders are back in this game on the touchdown to Mayfield here at Molson Stadium.
Meet Jonathan.
Back in Montreal, where Curtis Mayfield has just scored his 8th receiving touchdown to go with 2 on special teams, make it 10 for the season. Another prolific year for the veteran.
Talking about Montreal's defense, and they're usually conservative. Well, you see Stephon Reed and Rashawn Giddings going on the blitz. Sarkisian knows that Reed is free. He has to block Reed by throwing the football on time. He does it. Mayfield does his job, and Saskatchewan are back in it.
So that's just the opposite of the expected game plan, that Montreal would be conservative and wait for Saskatchewan to make mistakes.
Yeah, completely out of character for Montreal. They were trying to obviously try and fool Steve Sarkisian, but he picked it up and executed.
Hasn't been fooled at all. 5 for 5 for 73 yards so far today, as McCallum's kickoff is taken by Thomas Haskins inside his 5, across the 25, flags in the play. Haskins with all kinds of room across the 35-yard line. Thomas Haskins, who's filled in for Pringle, now for Jock Climby, and is a threat on special teams. A 32-yard return, but it looks like it's coming back.
Thomas Haskins.
Illegal block. Montreal number 51. First down.
Thomas Haskins is the package. He's the complete package. Sheldon Benoit getting the clipping penalty, but Haskins is a guy that can do it all for you. It doesn't matter what you need. Guy gets hurt, there's the clipping penalty right in the middle of your screen. Thomas Haskins can fill in. I mean, if they needed a defensive back, they could probably put Thomas Haskins in there and he'd be fine. Great all-around athlete.
So the Alouettes will be inside their own 15 to start this series. Less than 13 minutes until the half. Handoff to Pringle at full speed, and then he's wrestled down by Ken Benson. Great contact.
That's the good news for Saskatchewan. Ken Benson, who was left the field early in the game with an injury, is back in there. And they need him, because not only is he a veteran in the middle that can play beside Willie Pless and move to the football, and he's seen Mike Pringle a lot in his career, he's also solid. He's also solid enough to be able to bring him down.
Wherever he's played this year, or this season, his career, Toronto or Saskatchewan, he's always been regarded as one of the best defensive tacklers in the league. Here's Ham with time, across the middle, and it's dropped. The ball was low to Alfonso Browning, but it could have been caught.
When a quarterback looks down the field, he sees different.
Oh, no. Ham is down.
Yeah. And that's the one that they've been working on.
He has a chronically injured knee that he felt was healed enough for him to come back. Let's see what happened.
He's waiting for Alfonso Browning to open up into the zone.
Oh, his own man seemed to roll up on him there.
Sumo KK. And he grabbed his ankle.
and then he moved up to his knee. He's definitely got that knee. He's had swelling on it. He's had it drained. He said he's as healthy as he's ever been this week.
Tough break for Ham as Baker's punt comes to Eric Gulliford at the 46. He stumbles, gets up, and then is piled on at the 50-yard line. So Ham is limping on the bench, a bad sign for Montreal. Tracy Ham grimacing in pain, but up and walking on the Montreal sideline as Sarkisian goes to work. Nearly intercepted, intended for Gulliford on the play. And Baron Miles, the ball hawk, who's scored 3 defensive touchdowns already this year, nearly turned that one back.
Well, if you're picking the Eastern All-Star team, put him on it right now. Just put Baron Miles on the Eastern All-Star team and maybe the CFL All-Star team. He's got a couple of interceptions. He had a touchdown last week that was called back. Would have been his 3rd on the season interception return.
It looked like Gulliford wasn't quite ready for that. That's the first incompletion for Sarkisian in this football game after going 5 for 5. 2nd and 10. Saskatchewan. Sarkisian still throwing. It's intercepted. Sanchez has it for Montreal. Davis Sanchez with his first interception of his career. And Montreal goes on offense. The game was going so well for Steve Sarkisian, and then he throws a league-leading 18th interception.
He throws the football on time, but it's Eric Gulliford against Davis Sanchez, and Sanchez has great speed too, so he stays real tight and breaks downhill on the football, comes up with a real good defensive play. When you have good speed in the secondary, you don't have to back off and be scared of speed receivers, and Sanchez certainly wasn't.
He's not going to give up that football either. His first career interception, the rookie out of Oregon, who was the 6th defensive back on that play. Tracy Ham, a good sign for Montreal, back on the field after looking like he'd re-injured his left knee. Back to pass. Ham, time. He'll go deep. Tyree Davis is open. And a diving catch by Davis to the 17-yard line.
Well, there's one for the highlight reel. Watch the catch. This is a guy who was knocked out cold 2 weeks ago against the Hamilton Tiger Cats when Rob Hitchcock knocked him out. For him to lay out for that football knowing Curtis Gallick is on his way, that takes a lot of courage. He comes up with that football. I think he's shaking off that injury.
You know, I walked up to him yesterday at practice, and he said, "Oh, no, don't tell me you guys, CBC, are doing this game." I think he felt jinxed that we did the game in Hamilton where he got knocked unconscious.
That's a big league catch right there.
Tremendous concentration. Alouettes threatening. Pringle at full speed. Saskatchewan puts up a wall. And Weston Young in on the tackle.
And Tracy Ham is not really limping, so he hasn't, he's moved around a little bit. When he threw that football, he stepped up in the pocket and threw a strike to Tyree Davis, and looks like he shook off that knee injury, which is good news for the Montreal fans here this afternoon.
One of the reasons that got Ham in this game is because he's the only quarterback who has playoff pressure experience, so they need to get him back into game situations with the playoffs just 5 weeks away. Ham flushed, in trouble, sacked. Colin Scribner had him. And there's a flag on the play.
Charlie Taft on the sideline must get nervous every time he sees Tracy Ham hit the turf.
Ham's taken off his helmet and has taken a knee.
Major foul, face mask. Saskatchewan number 72.
Yeah, Scribner.
First down.
It looks like he got eye gouged.
That's right. When Scribner grabbed the face mask, he also grabbed, looks like the right eye of Tracy Ham. You know, and Charlie Taft was going to Calvillo almost immediately. He looked at him and was going to the sideline, but it looks like Ham will shake this off. Colin Scribner coming from the outside. There's where the hand, the left hand is in the face mask, also got Ham's eye, and he goes down immediately, and there's the flag.
Jake Ireland had good perspective on that, so instead of being at their own, or rather the Saskatchewan 40, they're now at the 10 because of that face mask penalty to Scribner. Ham, back to pass. Browning, touchdown!
Curtis Gallick for the Saskatchewan Roughriders is having a tough game so far. Tracy Ham knows in the play he's got man coverage because The halfback runs over with the motion. So he knows he's got man. Now it's just a matter of going after Curtis Gallick in the middle. Try and move the safety. Use a young safety in there with your head. Ham does it again, and he does it with one eye.
No kidding. No depth perception on that play, but he found Browning in the end zone wide open for his 4th touchdown reception of the season. Terry Baker, the point after is good. And so Montreal erases Saskatchewan's touchdown to take a 21-7 lead.
Whatever your project, Canadian Tire can help it take shape. Canadian Tire, still the right place to do it.
Back in Montreal, where the capacity crowd is enjoying every moment of this one.
Well, 2 things have to happen for Montreal to have success. Alfonso Browning's got to get inside position, and Ham's got to get rid of the safety. See, Alfonso Brown, look, he's looking around wondering where the coverage is.
Like, where is everybody?
Yeah, I mean, there's no one down the middle. Curtis Gallick is falling down, and Shannon Garrett got beat to the inside. Right off the snap of the football by a good move by Alfonso Browning, and all Ham had to do was deliver the strike.
So a good sign for Ham, who came back after leaving the game with the injured knee to direct this scoring drive. 4 plays, 58 yards in a little over 10 minutes, culminating with a 9-yard touchdown pass to Browning, who was born here in Montreal, but grew up, played his high school ball in the States, and went to Kentucky. Terry Baker getting set to tee it up and kick it off here for Montreal. And the Alouettes wearing their 3rd jersey here this afternoon, the red, white, and blue, which is a celebration of the 25th anniversary of the 1974 Grey Cup champions.
You gotta like it.
It is nice. Deep, Reggie Jones at his own 10. The rookie with some speed and a seam. Reggie Jones has finally crashed down at about the 30-yard line. Kaz made the tackle.
Yeah, he's just Kaz from now on.
This was the scene just a few weeks ago as no less than 30 of those 1974 Montreal Alouettes came back. Of course, there they were to introduce this year's edition of the Alouettes. Lester Smith going on the field. Larry Smith, the president and GM of this Montreal club, of course, one of the alumni. Great afternoon, and of course, the nostalgia of being back in this stadium, its location in downtown Montreal, has brought back the fans in huge numbers. Mike Saunders carrying the ball for Saskatchewan. Gets across the 35-yard line.
Well, the good news for Saskatchewan is that they haven't abandoned that guy yet. I mean, you got to stick with Mike Saunders, and you got to come back. It's a big series for Sarkisian. He doesn't even need to score. He just doesn't want to turn the football over again.
And there's the tendency as Saunders goes, so go the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Yeah, I mean, that tells the story right there. 120 yards rushing per game in the 3 wins. 55 when they lose.
And the problem is that when they lose, they usually get behind big time and have to abandon the ground game.
Well, the thing is that, you know, there's lots of football to be played. So you can put a lot of points on the board. And Steve Sarkisian against Edmonton put 23 on the board in a half of football. But you got to do it with what brought you here. And Mike Saunders is the only success they've had on offense.
Saskatchewan now running 6 offensive linemen, a tight end kind of look. Intercepted. Lester Smith hits it right out of the breadbasket of Curtis Mayfield.
We talked about in the opening, Mark, the cat and mouse game that goes on between the free safety and the quarterback. And right now, Lester Smith's job is just to look at the quarterback. Where is he looking? Is he looking at Mayfield? I'm going to flow to the football. There he is. And he throws it. He throws it right to him. I mean, what you got to do as a quarterback, and Steve Sarkisian will learn this. He did this exact same play a week ago. Lester Smith came up with the interception in that one as well. You got to look off the safety. You got to hold him in the middle. Get him out of there. Lester Smith, the veteran, slides over, reads his eyes, and comes up with another turnover.
His 4th interception of the season.
What's up, man?
Montreal had 3 last week against Saskatchewan. They've already got 2. Play action pass. Ham complete to Mike Soles, leaked out of the backfield. He breaks 1 tackle, gets across the 45-yard line. Montreal secondary have been ball hawks indeed.
Yeah.
If you look at the numbers, 5 for Irv Smith, 4 now for both Lester Smith and Baron Miles, 1 each for Washington and Henry.
they're getting after the football. Baron Miles and Lester Smith. And Irv Smith and Lester Smith are the two veterans in the group, because Baron Miles really just in his second year.
And back to pass, 2nd and 5. Time. Wide open! Unbelievable! It's Browning again, and nobody covered him. Touchdown, Montreal! 44 yards. Back-to-back touchdowns for the rookie, Alfonso Browning.
Well, the last one he got, Curtis Gallick slipped in the end zone, fell down, and he got inside position. This is just a bust in the coverage. This is just a mistake mentally. Gallick goes away again, goes to where Tracy Ham is looking, and Alfonso Browning is standing wide open. I mean, you can't get any more open than that.
So Browning with his 5th touchdown reception of the season, back-to-back. And suddenly, Saskatchewan is in big trouble. Point after from Terry Baker, and score it. Montreal 28, Saskatchewan 7, as the rookie from Kentucky makes it 2. Alfonso Browning with his 2nd touchdown of the game, and points off of turnovers are killing Sarkisian and Saskatchewan. His first 5 passes were complete, but 2 of his last 3 have been interceptions.
Yeah, well, the first one was to Davis Sanchez, and I thought that was a good defensive play. This one was a mistake not looking off the safety, Lester Smith. Both turned into points, and Alfonso Browning has been the guy. Now, Alfonso Browning has good moves, but he doesn't have this good of moves. That's a bust in the secondary by the Saskatchewan defense.
Reggie Jones takes it on the hop for Saskatchewan. Can't get outside. Charbonneau makes the tackle for Montreal on special teams. Let's go down to the sidelines, and here's Tom Harrington.
Okay, Mark, talking about the looking off the safety, Glenn Suter was mentioning that just before the cat and mouse game that Steve Sarkisian is trying to play and losing right now. After that 2nd interception, came off the field very frustrated, had a chat with the backup quarterback, at least on the sidelines right now, Reggie Slack. And the one thing that came up in that conversation was reading the safety. Sarkisian shook his head. He clearly knows the mistake he made, guys.
Well, Reggie Slack on the sidelines and watching this game here in Montreal. He went to a private clinic in Edmonton to have an MRI. It looks like the knee's not too bad. He could be back in a week. As Saunders takes the handoff from Sarkisian. Speaking of points on turnovers, how about this, Glenn? Montreal has 21 points off of turnovers. Saskatchewan, their touchdown 7.
Yeah, I mean, you touch handing the football to the other team, you're going to have an uphill battle to try and win. And right now, Saskatchewan, you know, they just want to try and get something positive out of the rest of this half, even if it means just getting into field goal range. I mean, it's been turnover, and all of a sudden they have a huge hole to crawl out of.
So 2 backs kept in the offense now. Daniels and Saunders. Back to pass, Sarkisian deep. It's late again and nearly intercepted. Irv Smith went high. Baron Miles was there. Gulliford, the intended receiver. But like the 2 picks, the ball was coming late, it looked like.
Well, this time they were playing zone defense, Montreal, and they both dropped back. Irv Smith and Lester Smith are both responsible for deep coverage. And you know, when you're in the secondary playing against a young quarterback, it starts to get a lot of fun back there. Now you're just playing the football. I mean, you're not even looking for receivers. Look at that. They were just trying to race for that interception, try and pad the stats a little bit. Irv Smith had the best crack at it.
So the last 3 possessions for Saskatchewan have resulted in no first downs. Paul McCallum will punt. Montreal will set up the return as they peel back. McCallum, ball into the wind, dies at center field. Winston October has it. There's a flag, gets through the coverage, down to about the 35-yard line. The flags are down. A 35-yard punt and a 20-yard return by October.
Well, this is the type of game that Tracy Ham wanted to come back in, you know, and it's really no disrespect to Saskatchewan, but they've been playing on Saskatchewan's half of the field all game. He's had great turnovers and he's had the lead all game. And you know, when you're coming off an injury, that's the type of game you want to be in. You get a chance to get the rust off and get a chance to throw the football a little bit, get back in there where the bullets are flying again, and you do it with the lead, so the pressure's off, you can relax, make your reads, and get back into the flow. And I thought Charlie Taft made that great point, like you said, Mark, is that they need him in the playoffs. I mean, Anthony Calvillo has emerged as one of the premier quarterbacks in the league, but he's never been in the big playoff games, in the finals, and if they get to the cup, then that's where you need a guy like him.
No yard. Saskatchewan number 11. That penalty is declined. Holding Montreal number 23. First down.
So they'll settle for the ball at center field. The Alouettes will. Anthony Calvillo, who was very gracious in accepting his demotion, so to speak, back to the sideline, saying he knew when he came here 2 years ago that his job was to back up Tracy Ham, and this team has confidence in both of those quarterbacks, whoever's in. Mentioning playoff experience, Calvillo's only experience was 3 years ago in a semifinal game, one that Hamilton lost. Here's Pringle at center field, going straight down the yard stripe, but can't turn it upfield. Great pursuit and stringing that play out by the Saskatchewan defense. Arkell Trulick with the tackle.
I think it's worth mentioning again, though, that the decision that Charlie Taft made to put Ham in the football game. I mean, when he is consistent with his decision-making process, you think back to when Mike Pringle got hurt. Thomas Haskins came in the game early in the season, had 200-yard games back-to-back, and really looked great at the tailback position. But as soon as Pringle was healthy, he's back in the lineup. The veteran can't lose his job to injury. Another consistent.
Excuse me, Graham. And we'll have a tough decision next week with Jock Climby set to come back. Davis with the reception. Great move. And across the 40-yard line, another Montreal first down. Yes, Jock Climby is said to be ready to come back next week, and Haskins has been replacing him.
Well, yeah, and they're getting great play out of Haskins in the slot back position now, and we've seen what Alfonso Browning can do playing inside. And so it will be another tough decision. Tyree Davis catching that little hitch pass and working to the outside, gets 18 yards on the play, and keeps those sticks moving is the most important thing for Montreal and Tracy Ham. And right now, Saskatchewan really having problems in their secondary.
So Ham looking sharp, making his reads, stretching the defense, going laterally. Play action now. Knocked down on the play. Great defense from the rush end, Steve Connolly, who had 3 tackles, a couple of sacks, and a fumble recovery last week.
Yeah, he was the best defensive player for Saskatchewan last week. He really emerged. I mean, he may have just put himself on the roster for the rest of the year for sure if he can stay healthy. And you know, these guys in Saskatchewan right now are auditioning, and they really believe they still have a chance for the playoffs. But if they don't make it, they're trying to make a job for next year.
Ham's numbers, well over 50%, 2 touchdowns. Back to pass. Time, lots of time. He'll run right now. Pressure from Scribner and throw it away. Intended receiver looked like Browning, but there was nobody in the vicinity. Browning was further downfield.
Yeah, you don't have to have a receiver that's calling Scribner down on the ground. Yeah, the new rule in intentional grounding, when the ball crosses the line of scrimmage, you don't need to have a receiver in the area. You can throw it up to row 7 if you want, as long as it crosses the line of scrimmage. If it's behind the line, you need a receiver around, and Ham made the wise choice. I mean, there's no one open. Great coverage by the secondary. He just dumps it into the open area and let their field goal team come on, try field goal.
Having words with Thomas Haskins. There's some confusion there in the offensive receiver set as nobody was in the area.
But yeah, the Ham's going to go to each one of them and say, okay, I had tons of time.
Yeah.
And one of you guys have got to get open. I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, that's not rocket science. You just go in there and you say, guys, I need one of you 4 to get open. Here comes Colin Scribner going after Tracy Ham. So he's going to run out here and then just dump it off, and then Scribner dives.
Oh, and they get hit from behind. Looked like a leapfrog attempt by Pless that hurt him.
Willie Pless tried to jump over him and hit him right in the back.
Tough kid, though, Scribner, going off under his own steam. Terry Baker will attempt a 50-yard, 45-yard field goal. Lots of leg. It's the goalpost. Oh, he had all kinds of power behind that one.
He can't believe that. You know, and you know what? He couldn't do that. If you gave him 100 footballs and asked him to do it again, he probably wouldn't. You know?
What are the odds of that?
Yeah. I mean,
He'd been good on 16 of 17 field goal attempts coming into this one. But he put it right on the post, and so it's no good.
A revolutionary new engine.
Back in Montreal on this Thanksgiving Monday. A reminder coming up, our Canadian Airlines halftime show. Mark Lee will have a report on Larry Smith. He was heavily criticized in his job as CFL commissioner, but is earning praise for resurrecting the Owls. We'll also have a preview of our second game, Edmonton at BC, and first half highlights and analysis, guys.
Thanks, Tom. Saskatchewan back on offense. Sarkisian rolling to his left. Throws low to Eric Gulliford, and he has it for a first down.
This is where Steve Sarkisian early in the game had success when he moved the pocket around, when he rolled out to his left or to his right and got those defensive linemen on a bit of a chase position. And then he got some more movement from his receivers. He had some success with that, went away from it, and threw some interceptions.
Sometimes rolling gives the quarterback a better view, a little bit more time.
Yeah, it gets him outside. The downside is you eliminate half the field, so now you're only really dealing with 2 receivers, but it does get you outside the pocket.
Saskatchewan with 7 men on the line. Pass is complete again to the far side. Gulliford, who's turning out to be the favorite intended receiver for Sarkisian here in the first half. A 12-yard gain and another first down for Saskatchewan.
And you may want to correct me on this, but I don't think Don Narcisse has touched the football.
No, he hasn't.
We're getting close to the end of the half here, and his streak is in jeopardy.
He's had 211 consecutive games with at least 1 catch, and right now he's a bystander next to Cal Murphy on the Saskatchewan sideline.
And if he catches one there, it doesn't count.
Sarkisian 7 for 11, 97 yards. Going deep. It's intercepted. Lester Smith picks it off and is still going. Finally hauled down from behind. Sarkisian with his 3rd interception of the half, and there's some bad blood back on the 35-yard line. Pushing and shoving now between some members of the Saskatchewan offensive line and the Montreal D-line as Lester Smith celebrates the pick.
Yeah, and that one goes right to Steve Sarkisian. And we talked about it. That play was designed to go to the fullback, Sean Daniels, in the flats. He just dumped the football right to Sean Daniels. He was wide open for about a 4 or 5 yard catch, and then if he turns it up, he has a chance. But Sarkisian is trying to force it again. Now he's going back and he's thinking, got to win the game in every single play. Try and go way deep down the field, and Lester Smith is just having a field day back there right now.
2 today, 7 on the season. Mike Soles out of the backfield, wide right again. Ham goes to the short side to Soles. And close to a first down.
Now, people might wonder why they put the fullback, Michael Soles, way to the wide receiver position. And I'll tell you what it does. It gives you the opportunity as a quarterback to see what kind of coverage you're facing, because defenses have to declare. If they bring a linebacker out there and put him on Michael Soles, it's man coverage. If they leave their DB like they did on that play and left Todd McMillan on him, then it's zone coverage. It declares it early for the quarterback.
2nd and short as Ham, quarterback, sneaks for a few, and another Montreal first down. Well, speaking of the interceptions problems that Sarkisian's having, it's not just the number of interceptions, but it's the return yards that they're getting. Saskatchewan, the worst team with a 3-10 record in the league, have allowed 615 yards in returns on interceptions coming into this game. The best team in the league, BC, 10-3, have allowed only 61. That's 110.
Well, 615 yards.
Amazing as Pringle's mileage goes up, running right through the hash marks, and what looks like a 10-yard gain and another Montreal first down. Very close.
You're giving up that much yardage on the interception returns. I mean, you just think about the real estate change that you're giving up there. I mean, not only is it a big play emotionally when you intercept the football, but the real estate given up there is huge.
And as we speak, Rayborn, the backup quarterback, is warming up on the Saskatchewan sideline. Pringle with 37 yards. Play action to him. Deep downfield. Haskins. He dropped it. Thomas Haskins had it in his hands with very close coverage on the play.
Well, you know, I'll tell you, you got to give credit to Curtis Gallick, because Curtis Gallick from the safety spot has really struggled. And when you're young and you struggle, you have a tendency to put your head down and really go in the tank. And Gallic has fought through it and comes up with a big defensive play because he was beat initially. But he caught up, kept concentration on the football, and knocked it out of there. And he's been struggling today. So that says a lot for a young guy to be able to battle back from that.
Second-year man out of UBC. Curtis Gallic with blanket coverage there. Here's Ham again to pass. In the pocket, across the middle. It's complete to Haskins this time. And a Montreal first down. 15 yards on the pass to Thomas Haskins.
We're really not seeing Mike Pringle as much as we normally do when you watch a Montreal game, but I think part of the reason for that is Tracy Ham really wants to take this opportunity to get back in the groove. He's going to throw the ball more than he normally would, I think, today.
Ham came into the game completing 61% of his passes. This time, they go on the ground to Pringle. Steve Connolly wraps him up. Last week, the Saskatchewan Roughriders did a pretty good job stopping Pringle early in the game, and as is normally the case, he wears you down. He wears the defense down and busted loose for a total of 155 yards and 3 touchdowns.
And when you're the Saskatchewan defense, you take a look at those comparisons between Saunders and Mike Pringle. And like I mentioned, Mike Pringle is not seeing the ball as much as he normally might.
Ham complete. Ben Cahoon breaks 2 tackles, breaks another, and is finally mugged at the 5-yard line. Talk about sure hands and a durable receiver in Ben Cahoon on the 13-yard pickup, moving the sticks for another Alouette first down.
Well, the guy that hit on Vincent Donaldson, his nickname is the Hitman, and he came in and gave him a pretty good hit. Ben Cahoon really strong legs. See, look at the hit. That really rocked him. He kept his balance, and then good second effort afterwards, making a couple tackles. And Gallic is one of them.
First down. Montreal at the 5-yard line. Pringle, the lone back. Ham, play action to Mike Pringle, right side, across the 5. Puts his head down. Touchdown, Alouettes! Mike Pringle with his 3rd touchdown of the opening half to go with 3. Scored last week against Saskatchewan.
Arkel Trulock is really between a rock and a hard place, or between a Ham and a Pringle really here, because it's the option going this way. Now Arkel Trulock, number 98's got to step up and make a decision in a hurry. Do I take the quarterback and make him pitch it and hope that my pursuit gets there, or do I go for Pringle? He decided on the quarterback, taking out Ham, and Pringle beat the pursuit to the end zone.
Terry Baker with the point after. 35-7 Montreal. Back in Montreal, where the rampage is on, the Alouettes leading 35-7. Mike Pringle with the hat trick, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, this is the pursuit. Pringle gets the football. Arkel Trulock committed to Tracy Ham. He drives him into the turf, and then it's up to Pless and Garrett to try and get there, and they just can't do it in time. When you play a good football team, not only do you have to play your best to have a chance to win, but you certainly can't hand them the game with turnovers, and that's what Saskatchewan has done in this first half.
So Pringle with 10 rushing touchdowns so far this season. The first man over the 1,000-yard barrier, and there are a total of 5 backs in this league who could do it. Saunders threatening to do that as well. Eric Gulliford, the kickoff return across the 30-yard line, tries to get outside and then is brought down just shy of the 35-yard line, and Kaz is celebrating another tackle.
Well, Steve Sarkisian will likely watch the rest of this one from the bench.
There's going to be a quarterbacking change, it looks like, Glenn. Yes, the rookie, John Rayborn from the University of Texas at El Paso, is coming into the game. He's only completed 6 passes this season, thrown 1 interception, no touchdown passes. The quarterback coach in Saskatchewan, Sammy Garza, spent a brief time coaching at UTEP. He knows him fairly well. So Rayborn in for Sarkisian, who's thrown 3 interceptions so far in the half. Play action. Rayborn throws it into the turf intended for Curtis Mayfield.
Well, I'm really surprised that they're going to do that with 20 seconds left in the half. Rayborn, you know, I mean, you're way behind. You're trying to make, but, you know, I think you put your knee down almost, hand the ball to Saunders a couple times and get out of here. Get into halftime, make some adjustments, and come back out and start slinging it and running hurry-up offense. But right now, a turnover right down here, and Montreal gets a field goal opportunity.
2nd and 10. High formation. Motion right. Play action pass. Rayborn again. Complete to Eric Gulliford on the play. And a first down for Saskatchewan. The gain is 16 yards on the first completion of this game for the rookie Rayborn.
Well, Cal Murphy's deciding that, hey, this far behind, you might as well just take as many chances as you have to and just try and get down and try and get something. Field goal position. There's a hit that John Rayborn took after throwing the football.
Call on that play. Shotgun formation. Rayborn going out of bounds. Intercepted. What a play by Baron Miles to get his foot down in bounds after going high to pick off the rookie. And Miles will celebrate in front of the grandstand here before a capacity crowd.
Well, there's only 7.6 seconds left, so Cal Murphy may have dodged a bit of a bullet.
Lucky fan gets the ball.
Because, you know, had that play happened maybe 4 seconds earlier, he's looking at another field goal against him. You know, I understand in some ways you're down as far as you are. You got to, you know, throw caution to the wind and just try and get back any way you can. But with 20 seconds left in the half, you know, get out of there with the damage that's already done, regroup and come back. And now Baron Miles is giving the ball right back to Montreal Alouettes.
5th interception for Baron Miles this season. Alouettes back on offense. The dying seconds. Fumbled ball by Haskins, but he gets it back just in time. With about 2 seconds to go in the half.
Well, that's the one that you put in. You put one play like that in every week. And it's just that you get one chance to run it, and that's it. And now they're going to have to just let the end of the half. This is the play here. It's a little reverse. Get one chance to run it. You only practice it a little bit during the week, so the execution is kind of a hit and miss deal.
It's a good-looking play when it works, I would think, with 2 players crossing back deep on the pitch. The Alouettes take a knee to run out the clock, and they've got a commanding lead here at the half. 35-7. Tracy Ham not looking rusty at all, coming back as starting quarterback in his first start since the beginning of September. The veteran looks sharp. Let's go down to Tom Harrington.
All right, Mark, and with head coach Charlie Taft. Charlie, it's been a bountiful harvest on this Thanksgiving Day so far in that first half. How do you explain this domination?
Well, the guys are obviously ready to play. They're flying around out here. I think, you know, we got a little hard time getting started, but the big hit on that kickoff coverage just kind of ignited everybody down here. And Tracy's getting into his rhythm and playing great, executing really well. So we just need to stay focused now and not be satisfied because we got another half.
Thanks a lot, Coach.
Okay.
Well, Charlie Taft, the Alouettes lead 35-7 going to halftime. Stay with us with our Canadian Airlines halftime show coming up right after this. 7 at halftime. And welcome to our Canadian Airlines halftime report. You know, much of the credit for the resurrection of the Montreal Alouettes in football in Montreal goes to Larry Smith. That's only quite an achievement considering the fact that a few short years ago he was being called the worst commissioner in CFL history. Here's Mark Lee.
Olympic Stadium remains a relic, a monument to the Alouettes' past, to past glories when that stadium was full to 60,000 fans in the 70s, and is a graveyard when the Alouettes folded from the CFL in the 1980s. But they're back, and so are the fans. Back for the future here at McGill Stadium with sellout after sellout this season. The fans are coming for the atmosphere, which is stoked by a winning team.
I like the ambience. It's smaller, but it's sold out.
Larry Smith is the greatest. Yeah! You should take the Montreal Canadiens too.
Larry.
Salut, ça va?
Larry Smith's popularity has soared in Montreal. The man who left the commissioner's job bruised and bitter is on the rebound with the Owls.
There's electricity in the air every time you go to a game. There's electricity in the air in the city with respect to football. People go there in groups, and they go there to have fun. It's just like a party atmosphere. So there's just no question moving downtown was a key move. And being in an intimate stadium that has a lot of history behind it has been good for us. Back in 1997, which is our first year of taking the franchise over, we had inherited a lot of garbage from the bankruptcy prior to us, and there was some ill will, and of course that was the height of the baseball guys and Claude Brochu telling people that the Olympic Stadium wasn't a place to play. And
the Owls have capitalized on nostalgia with celebrations of the 25th anniversary 74 champions. They've also won the favor of young fans. 60% are under 35, a demographic the rest of the league covets. And the roster is stocked with more Quebec athletes than play for the hallowed Canadians. Smith says it's the same effort he put in as commissioner.
I think I had some pretty fine hours when I took over the league in '92, because people don't seem to realize the league was bankrupt. It had nowhere to go. No one wanted to deal with it, and no sponsors. 12 or 13 million that we brought in from expansion certainly wasn't given back by any of the Canadian teams, because effectively we refinanced our Canadian operations. Right now, in our present configuration, we can be kind of a break-even operation. But I don't know of too many people in business trying to just break even, and obviously we'd like to recapture a bit of the money that Mr. Wettenhall has put into this franchise. So the answer is we will continue on, and we're confident that we will be able to expand.
Welcome back to Montreal on this Thanksgiving Monday, and Alouettes fans are thanking everyone who was involved with what happened in that first half as Montreal leads 35-7, courtesy of several important Saskatchewan turnovers. Well, coming right up after our game here in Montreal, we'll take you to the West Coast. The BC Lions taking on the Edmonton Eskimos. BC with the league's best record. Here's Steve Armitage with a preview.
The BC Lions won't guarantee a victory under the dome of BC Place Stadium on Thanksgiving Day, but one thing we are assured of: perfect weather conditions. This game features arguably the best quarterback in the CFL, Damon Allen, against the most exciting quarterback, Nealon Green, of the Eskimos. Both quarterbacks come in with clear-cut objectives.
It's all about winning, get home field advantage. That's one of the goals that we strive for this year. And we know we have 5 games left, but we play the Eskimos today, and we have to prepare ourselves for a war to win that ball game.
We know what's on the line, and we're going to go out there today and make things happen. We're going to try to get the crowd out of it early and make things happen on special teams. And we feel confident that we can go in here and do some positive things and come out here with a win.
It's a must-win game for the Eskimos in terms of making the playoffs. It's a big game for the Lions. If they win, they'll move that much closer to hosting the Western Final. Lions and Eskimos, the second half of our Thanksgiving Day doubleheader. It begins at 4 Eastern.
Well, Steve, the weather may be perfect indoors, but it's perfect in Montreal today. Let's send it upstairs now to Mark and Glenn, guys.
Thanks a lot, Tom. You know, at one point, Glenn, Saskatchewan was in this game down 14-7, but then the wheels fell off on their last 5 possessions. 4 interceptions.
Yeah, it's been the story of the year for Steve Sarkisian at quarterback. He does things well early in the football game, and then he throws that bad interception, and it has resulted in Montreal points. No question about it. They're struggling, and then their secondary has also blown some coverages, and that has been the problem for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Here's a couple of the interceptions. Lester Smith comes up with that one, and they've had a bunch. Steve Sarkisian has had problems looking off the safety. Irv Smith comes up with one here. He gets his foot on the sideline, stays in bounds, and that's resulted in points for the Montreal Alouettes. And they've had some problems in the secondary in Saskatchewan as well, because Alfonso Browning's burned him twice. In this one, he was absolutely wide open. A busted coverage by Saskatchewan, and they're really taking it to him right now.
So mistakes are killing the Saskatchewan team. You have to wonder, though, who they're going to come back with in the second half. Rayborn wasn't much better than Steve Sarkisian. In fact, he looked a little bit more tentative and promptly threw an interception. So that's a big question.
We may even see Mike Colley before it's over.
Mike Colley, who was brought on the roster very recently. So it's 35-7 Montreal at home as we go back to Tom Harrington.
Well, Mark, not since 1981 have the Saskatchewan Roughriders beaten a team called the Montreal Alouettes. They've got an awful lot of work to do to end that trend. We'll have more from Molson Stadium in Montreal and the CFL on CBC right after this.
Let's go easy with seat 3, Jay.
Steve Sarkisian threw 3 interceptions in the first half, got pulled for John Rayborn, but he was warming up just moments ago, and you can only imagine that the paint was peeling at halftime in the Saskatchewan room. Here's Tom Harrington.
Cal, it's been a bitter harvest for you guys in that first half. A lot of turnovers. What did you say to your team at halftime?
Well, we'll come out here and play as if the score is nothing. We'll go out there and get our ass kicked 70-7. We've got to make up our mind what way we're going to do it. We've had so many screw-ups in the first half, we had enough for a month.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, Cal doesn't mince words. He is fuming, still upset with the error-prone and mistake-filled first half played by his football team, and they are down deep, 35-7, as Terry Baker gets set to kick it off here in the second half. He'll bounce it at the 20. It's bobbled deep. Eric Gulliford has it for Saskatchewan across the 25, and it's hit hard at the Saskatchewan 30-yard line. An 18-yard return by Gulliford as we look at the first half stats, Glenn.
Well, you don't have to look any further than there. 5 turnovers for Saskatchewan. That's the difference in the game. They're making them pay when they turn the ball over, and Montreal is putting the points on the board when they do. Now Saskatchewan in the second half have to get up into the hurry-up offense. They have to get off the football, take some chances both offensively and defensively. They have nothing to lose.
28 points have been scored on turnovers by Montreal as the rookie Paul Rayborn comes out to start the second half. John Rayborn. Sarkisian will stay on the sidelines for Saskatchewan. Rayborn will stay on the ground, handing off to Mike Saunders over the right side. He's stacked up as he crosses the 35-yard line. A decent gain on first down on the ground for Saskatchewan.
Yeah, and John Rayborn is not going to get the game back. He's not going to score more than 1 touchdown at a time. You got to think that as a quarterback. The best I can do is 7 points. Okay, so I'm just going to do what the game plan asks me to do and deliver the football. If you throw it down the field, Lester Smith and those boys are just having a great day. Going to come up with it.
Rayborn with 1 completion in 3 attempts in the opening half in relief of Sarkisian. Saunders gets the ball, then slips short of the first down. So it's a punt situation, and that has been a regular occurrence for Saskatchewan.
Well, Saunders slips on the play, and I'm just questioning the call in some ways. I mean, you know, you're way behind in the ball game. I mean, you got to start taking some chances, and Mike Saunders, even if he doesn't slip, is running into the arms of about 4 Montreal defenders. Likely won't get the first down anyway. Now's the time you got to gamble. You're forced to if you're Saskatchewan.
Paul McCallum back to punt for Saskatchewan. It's a high booming kick to Winston October inside his 25-20, going back 15 yards, looking for a seam, gets a block. Now he's got a wall on the outside, tripped up by Moore. And the only man back was the kicker, McCallum. A 45-yard punt and a 4-yard return, but he ran 65 to get the 4.
If Mike Moore doesn't get that tackle, it's one-on-one with October and Paul McCallum, and I like October.
Yeah.
He gets to the outside, picks up a couple of blocks. There was a couple of questionable ones along the way, almost clips. No flags are down, and then he...
Look at that.
There's the trip right there. Moore doesn't make that play. It's one-on-one in the open field with a guy with tremendous speed on a punter.
And Moore looks like he was shaken up making that tackle. Tracy Ham will stay in at quarterback with a 35-7 first half lead he built. And flags are down as they don't even get the play off.
Yeah, it's important for him to stay in there, even though they've got the big lead. Because in Montreal,
violation, Montreal number 8, still first down.
See, in Montreal, they don't consider themselves having a starting quarterback really and a backup quarterback. They have a veteran starter and a good up-and-coming starter. And that's how they look at it in Montreal. Because Tracy Ham hasn't played for so long, he needs to get as many reps. This is like another practice for him now in the second half.
They might be the richest team at quarterback in the CFL. With the #1 rated passer, Calvillo, on the bench ready to come in at a moment's notice. Hand off to Haskins, who starts out of the backfield in a running back situation. Gets back to the line of scrimmage and is driven back by Rich Young. Nowhere to go on that play for Haskins.
Well, this is the beauty of Haskins. We mentioned it earlier, is that you can put him at tailback, and he's going to get it done for you. He had a couple 100-yard games when he replaced Mike Pringle, who was injured with a knee problem. So, and then now this play, he'll go out and play the slot back position. He's played wide receiver, and I bet he can throw.
No doubt he can do it all. As Ham sits back in the shotgun, 2nd and 15. Has time now, lots of room to run, and Ham will run for the first time in this game. Getting out of bounds just across the first down marker, but it looked like he was gingerly going out of bounds.
Well, yeah, and it looked like when he went to slow down and put the brakes on, the knee started to bother him a little bit, and he kind of limped out. Watch the end of the run. Now, he chooses his time now at this point in his career when he's going to take off, but when it was so wide open, he did. Here's the end of it. See, when he puts the brakes on, he kind of limps off. And when you have that burst of sack, sometimes if you jam down on the knee trying to stop yourself, it's worse than getting hit on it.
16-yard gain for Tracy Ham, who gets his pre-snap read in the shotgun. Handoff is to Pringle up the middle. Pringle is hit immediately by Conley, who then wrestles him to the ground after a gain of about 5 or 6.
And this is what they'll do the rest of this game. Is they're just going to run the ball on first down. Maybe throw in the odd play action, but run the ball on first down just to make sure that they keep the clock moving, keep the sticks moving, and when you got Pringle and the way that they run the football, that's how you can just ice the game and take it away from Saskatchewan. Don't give them any life in the second half.
2nd down and 4. Montreal at their own 50-yard line. Ham now moves up behind the center. Cuddler pitches it out to Pringle, right side. Rich Young is there, moving very quickly laterally to make the tackle short of the first down.
I'll say exactly what they did there. We talked about the formation with Michael Souls going to the wide receiver position. Well, if Saskatchewan defensively decide to cover Michael Souls with the linebacker, Tracy Ham audibles on the line of scrimmage to a running play. The reason he does that is because there's one less linebacker in there to make the tackle on the running back. So that's what he did on the play. Ham sees that Ken Benson goes out and lines up on Michael Souls at the wide receiver position. So he audibles to a running play to Pringle, and they'll be very close, and they'll have to measure it now.
Well, Mike Souls just loves coming back here to Molson Stadium, where he starred as a member of the McGill-Redmond. You know, a lot of those guys, Souls, Ham, were talking about retirement at last season, and they'd come back for one last hurrah to try to win the cup here in Montreal. And it's been a tremendous season here in this city. The team has been embraced by the fans. They make the measurement. Sellout crowd after sellout crowd.
And it's a young, enthusiastic crowd. And, you know, it was a bitter pill to swallow for Montreal, for Ham and those guys. And when you want to please these guys, I mean, look at this crowd. It's a young crowd, and the music's going. They're dancing in the aisles. I mean, this is a great atmosphere for football.
And you know those tents, those colorful tents on the top, those are the private boxes here in Montreal. All the sponsors are up there, and they've come back in droves.
Hey, they love it.
So it'll be a 3rd down gamble situation at midfield for Montreal. They need about a yard. And will sneak and get across the 55 for the Montreal first down.
A lot of credit has to go to that guy, Charlie Taft. You know, you talk about, there's the young fans we were talking about. You talk about...
One moment, please.
Should be front runners for Coach of the Year. Well, you got to consider Greg Mons, I think, in BC because of the great record that he's put up against a lot of criticism. Wally Guano's always in there, but to me, Charlie Taft has got to be in that group as well. He's done a tremendous job through a lot of injuries.
Hands off to Pringle, up the middle, up the gut. And he has a handful of yards before he's brought down again. And Conley, a yeoman's effort here in the middle for Saskatchewan. Mike Pringle has been a big weapon with 3 touchdowns again, back-to-back 3 touchdown games against Saskatchewan.
Yeah, you get him down on the goal line, you might as well, you need to start putting 14, 15 guys on the field. That may be the only way you can keep them out of the end zone. Once those guys, the great running backs, get a nose for the goal line, forget about it.
Tremendous velocity as he hits the line of scrimmage. Here's Ham. Will run again. First down and more, and then he'll fly safely to the turf. Another first down on the ground for Tracy Ham. Marshall Kulik in on the tackle.
Gets up real low every time. Yes. And Charlie Taft is over on the edge. He sees him run, and I know he's just cringing because he wants both. He has a great backup. We talked about that throughout this game in Anthony Calvillo, but he really wants to keep both healthy, heading down the stretch.
Gain of 13 yards on the play, so that's 2 runs, 29 yards for Tracy Ham. And this drive continues to eat up time. 9 plays long. Pringle stopped immediately. He runs into heavy going with Michael Lawson.
You know, we talk about Saskatchewan, and
1 moment, please.
you know, they have some bright spots. And I think of Steve Connolly on defense. I think Willie Pless has a couple more years. You know, there's some young players that have a year of experience under their belt, and it won't be long. They're not too far away from putting it together.
Second and long, Montreal. Ham with all kinds of time. Rest from behind. Drops the ball. Saskatchewan recovers. It looks like Michael Lawson has recovered the Tracy Ham fumble for Saskatchewan. The youngins looking on in Montreal on Thanksgiving. Saskatchewan's tag team. Connolly makes the fumble, and Mike Lawson makes the recovery as he gets some repairs.
There he is right there coming off the edge. He has to beat 2 guys. He beats Michael Souls, and then Pringle sees him late but can't get there in time. Connolly strips the football out. Michael Lawson picks it up. Both young players in their first year, and this is why they're looking at the future, and they see some of the plays that these young players are capable of making, like that one right there. They think, you know, we have a chance down the line. They just, with young rookies in the lineup, you're going to make mistakes, and they've made a ton throughout the season that have cost them.
Tracy Ham with his second fumble of the game for Montreal. Rayborn stays at quarterback for Saskatchewan up behind the center. And Sean Daniels with his first carry of the game, and that doesn't go anywhere.
Well, you know, and this is what I don't quite understand. You know, Montreal comes up and eats up the third quarter with a good drive before Ham fumbles. Rayborn has a chance now with the football in pretty good field position. You know, now's the time you got to force it. You know, you get into the spread offense, you get hurry up. They're taking a lot of time in the huddle, and they're running the ball to their fullback.
Not very explosive. 2nd and 9. The game was won in that carry by Sean Daniels. Rayborn straight back to pass. In trouble. Throws it away. And you have to wonder what Sarkisian's lot is now on this team. He's not playing in this second half. Reggie Slack is said to be perhaps ready to come back next week. Will he take over the team?
Well, I think that would be Cal Murphy's first choice, is to get Reggie Slack back in the lineup. And, you know, this is not John Rayborn's fault. He gets out there and really doesn't have much time to throw the football. Good pressure up the middle. That pocket just collapsed around him. But it's an interesting situation. Now, Mike Cawley is over there. Steve Sarkisian is trying to help out. Reggie Slack still working on that injury. He said he may have been ready if it was a day more of preparation for this one.
October at his own 25. Hit hard at the 35 and driven right back. A 42-yard punt and an 8-yard return by October on October the 11th.
Don't forget, coming up right after this game, it's Edmonton at BC. Robert Drummond on the lines, the league's best record. That's coming up right after our game here in Montreal. And if things don't go from bad to worse for the Riders, Eric Gullifruit's had a pretty strong game for the Riders at the wide receiver spot. A key return man has a slight concussion, may not return.
Banged up here. He's had a bad knee, a bad ankle, and now a bad head. Play action to Pringle. Ham searching the defense, finds a man wide open. It's Pringle leaking out of the backfield across center field. And a big gain across the Saskatchewan 45-yard line. So Pringle takes the fake, then gets out into the flat and makes the catch.
Well, we talked about Pringle and Ham shaking the rust, but you know, you got to give a lot of credit to this offensive line in Montreal. Watch how much time Ham has. I mean, Ham looked all the way across the field, didn't see anybody, came all the way back to Mike Pringle, who was standing there all alone. I mean, he was back there with a coffee and a donut.
They love it here in Montreal.
Now, that guy got the donut. He just had the coffee.
31-yard gain for Pringle through the air. This time he's on the ground with a straight arm. And Shannon Garrett comes in to fill from the secondary to stop him for a short gain.
There's a lot of unsung heroes on this football team, and Michael Souls is one of them. And he's blocking on Arkel Trulock right at the point of attack. He's got his hands up there, and I mean, Arkel Trulock is a rush end, and that's sort of the battle that's been going on all game. Trulock has won a couple. Michael Souls maintains his block throughout that one, and Kicks True Luck out. So one of the unsung heroes in this lineup. Don't talk about him a lot, but he is key.
Here's Ham to Pringle through the air again. And another Montreal first down. Willie Pless is the first of a host of Saskatchewan tacklers to make contact on the thundering fullback.
Michael Pringle's job on this play is to check if there's any blitz coming from the Saskatchewan secondary and linebacking core, and if he doesn't see any, he wants to slip out into the back or into the pattern. If he doesn't see anyone come, he's going to slip out from the backfield, get into the pass route, and provide a target for Tracy Ham.
And look at the balance on the Montreal offense, spreading the ball around to all of the weapons.
Alfonso Browning a couple of touchdowns, Pringle with a couple of rushing, and they are spreading it around.
Ham, 4th straight completions on this series. Another one there, make it 5 to Haskins. Haskins getting outside to the 25-yard line, makes a move. Open space, Haskins, touchdown Montreal! What an effort! Thomas Haskins takes that one 33 yards to the Saskatchewan end zone for his 4th touchdown of the season.
Well, remember when Cal Murphy before the game was telling us about the fact that they needed more speed and more players with the capability to make big plays. This is what he needs. He needs a Thomas Haskins guy. This is what Charlie Tapp has. He has a guy you can dump the ball off to and can make 4 or 5 people miss in the open field and get in the end zone all by himself.
And so the route is on in Montreal. Haskins with his 4th touchdown of the year. The ambidextrous all-purpose offensive threat for Montreal.
He's kind of like the Dion in the CFL. Oh yeah, that's the kind of guy he is. He just does it all.
Terry Baker has been busy kicking converts all afternoon. Here's another one. Montreal opens a 42-7 lead. Tracy Ham spreading the ball around and going to Haskins and pay dirt this time. Back in Montreal, where the cheerleaders and the football fans are basking in the sunshine, Thomas Haskins runs it up against a dispirited Saskatchewan defense.
He slipped on the pattern, a little crossing run about 5 yards deep. He outruns Benson. See that great block by Michael Souls on Curtis Gallick? Talk about him being the unsung hero. There he goes again.
Here's Gulliford back in the game, putting his head down across the 40-yard line for Saskatchewan. 22-yard return. And he's favoring the ankle that was bothering him when he made the trip here.
Yeah, and he had a bit of a concussion. And
Haskins, the touchdown, 33 yards. He's had 3 catches for 115 yards so far in this football game.
And that's a lot of yak yards. And yak yards are yards after the catch. And you know, he gets 4 catches, but that last one was a 5-yard catch. And then he took it 33 for the touchdown.
Tracy Ham passing 65%, 304 yards so far as Saskatchewan's rookie Rayborn goes back on offense. Has time going outside to Tukara, but it's too far and incomplete. You know, Steve Sarkisian has, as we mentioned off the top, some great credentials coming from Brigham Young University, where he made some tremendous feats there. He passed for 67%. That broke Steve Young's completion percentage at Brigham Young. And he had 21 completions in the Cotton Bowl, and that tied Navy's Roger Staubach. So some pretty big names that he shared company with as a college player.
Yeah, and you know, when you talk to the coaching staff, they still believe in him. And he's going to make mistakes as a young quarterback. You think back to Danny McManus in his early days.
Exactly.
A ton of picks.
Rayborn decides to run. And he's two-stringed on the play by the linebacker and leading tackler Giddings. There's Jones, the number 3 quarterback in Montreal. Corby Jones, the rookie out of Missouri, now limbering up on the sideline. I guess that means that Anthony Calvillo will not be requested.
Well, you know, and then they want to get a lot of guys some reps. And at this point in the game, with the game well in hand for Montreal, you're worried about your injuries. I mean, you definitely don't want to lose a guy with a game in hand. So Ham will likely sit out the rest of this one. Corby Jones gets a chance to play. We probably will see Pringle rest a little bit as well.
He looks a lot like a young Tracy Ham as Paul McCallum gets set to punt for the 7th time in this game, and Winston October is the lone man back for Montreal. A nice spiral To the far sideline. October has it at the 23. Straight upfield. Spins off a tackle after putting his head down to get 10 more yards on that return. So another big return of 20 for Winston October.
Whatever your project, Canadian Tire can help it take shape. Canadian Tire, still the right place to do it.
Back live as we look at the warm-ups. Nealon Green, the Edmonton quarterback, getting set for the second half of our Thanksgiving Monday doubleheader of the CFL on CBC Edmonton at BC Place.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I know they were probably in the locker room, and in BC, you see Damon Allen also warming up for BC and leading that team to the best record in the CFL so far.
Corby Jones is in and promptly fumbles the handoff to Mike Pringle on the first play, and Saskatchewan says they've got it, and they do. And so a fumble for the rookie, Corby Jones, on his first play from scrimmage here in the third quarter.
I don't think you got a clean handoff to Pringle. You got to get that ball right in the breadbasket, right in the stomach, and it looked like he sort of half reached for it. He wasn't close enough to him and hit him in the side. And Pringle's not looking at the football. Running backs don't look down at the ball. They expect it to be right in that spot, and if it's not, it's the quarterback's fault, because they got to look at the hole. They got to look for where they're cutting.
Chance now for some confidence building on the Saskatchewan side of the ball. Rayborn at quarterback. 5 receiver set for Saskatchewan. Straight back. Down the middle for Dan Farthing. And he skipped it about 5 yards away from him.
Just to think back to that point, you saw BC and Edmonton warming up over at BC Place. And you know Edmonton was keeping close tabs to this football game, but you know, it's lucky for them, I guess, that they didn't have to worry about it. It's halftime. They know the game's pretty much done. They can go and warm up and worry about their own game now.
No kidding. There's Jones getting some tutoring from the veteran Tracy Ham on the bench, and that's been another strong point of this Montreal team. The veterans have really shared their knowledge with the young people. Players like Jock Climbey, injured, will stand on the sidelines and help the young receivers like Browning. There's a fumble on the play and a flag down on the field. As Rayborn gets back on it, the wave in full swing here at Molson Stadium. So the call is offside against the Alouettes on the play.
We'll get one more crack at it.
Offside. Montreal number 57. Repeat second down.
And the quarterback situation in Saskatchewan, you mentioned about Sarkisian, and I think Sarkisian, when I watch him and I listen to him talk and listen to him game plan, he's a student of the game. He's trying to learn the game. He's been forced into a situation to try and carry this franchise when he's truly not ready to do it completely. And Danny McManus was a backup for 5 years.
More flags in the 2nd and 5 situation.
And you know, Mark, when he played, I think back to McManus in his early days, he did a lot of the same things. You know, he forced the ball at times. He threw too many interceptions. But, coaches hung with them. And because he was a student of the game, he ended up figuring it out. And I believe Sarkisian is in the same kind of position.
Still second down.
John Terry called for illegal procedure, and so they'll move the ball 5 yards back, and the 2nd and 5 situation becomes a 2nd and long.
Now you might as well get in the shotgun and forget about play action. No one's going to bite on this.
Back rolling right is Rayborn, off his back foot, and nearly intercepted. The ball was again short, intended for Curtis Mayfield. He's had 1 completion in 7 attempts and 1 interception so far.
The other thing that you gotta ask, and we don't know this because we're not in the meetings with the Saskatchewan offense, but how much help are these quarterbacks getting? Sammy Garza is one of the coaches, and he's a young coach. I mean, how much help are they getting? How many adjustments are being made from halftime to the 3rd quarter? Because a lot of the games I've seen Saskatchewan play, they lose it in the 3rd quarter. It wasn't the case today.
Sarkisian still on the sidelines, and Cal not too happy still. 3rd down gamble and 10 to go for Saskatchewan. The line collapses, and down goes the rookie quarterback. Sacked by the sack leader. That's number 15 for Alfred Payton.
Yeah, all the defensive players right now are thinking this way. I got a chance to pad my stats. All-star ballots go out pretty soon.
I get a chance to add to those numbers, pin my ears back. Not too worried about making a mistake at this point or maybe going out of your lane a little bit because game's well in hand.
He came into the weekend 4 back of the sack leader, Joe Montford, in Hamilton. 2 of them battled all year last year before Montford prevailed with 21.
Mom, Dad.
Ed Fillion, Essex, Ontario, celebrating on the Montreal bench as Pringle rumbles up the middle. There's a fumbled ball. It's still loose. Swiped at it. And Saskatchewan has it. So 2 series for Montreal and 2 fumbles as Conley falls on it for the Roughriders. His 2nd fumble recovery in 2 games. .325 Eastern time here at Montreal as the Leafs continue to turn on a beautiful October day. And look at the 3rd quarter stats, Glenn. Turnovers, beginning to be a question for Montreal. 4 possessions and 3 fumbles here in the 3rd quarter.
Yeah, they're playing with their backup, their 3rd-string quarterback right now, and he's having some troubles. Pringle also got hit and dropped one, but the real telling stat is the 6 turnovers for Saskatchewan, because you start turning the ball over 3 times in a game, you're pretty much guaranteed an L in the column at the end of the day.
All 4 of Montreal's turnovers have been fumbles as some of the big men, Fillion and Charbonneau, take a break on defense. Pitch pass, Reggie Jones, the rookie, and he's elusive as he scampers to a 1st down.
You know, Montreal will play a lot of backups on defense as well. We saw a couple of starters sitting on the bench, and their defense is on the field right now. So it's a chance to rest some of the guys, especially some of the guys that were nicked coming in.
A 13-yard pickup for Jones, who had 10 catches last week for 132 and a touchdown, and they want to get him loose on a crossing pattern. I think that's a key play, much the same as Toronto does with Daryl Mitchell. Rayborn, handoff up the middle to Saunders, gets outside, 1st down territory, puts his head down and drills Henry, and then he takes a late hit from behind. Sylvester Miller in on the play and some shoving out of bounds.
This
12-yard gain.
This is what you get, Mark, from Michael Saunders every game. You know, it doesn't matter what the score is, and they've been on the wrong end of some scores this year. Mike Saunders gives you this effort all the time. And when I talk about some of the highlights and some of the things that they can really hang their hat on, he's been their MVP this year. And he's one guy that they can do that with. That's a late hit by Miller out of bounds. Miller's in there replacing Swift Birch, who may be back in the lineup next week.
And there's the late hit from Miller, and he was charged on the play, and so they'll move the yardsticks all the way to the Montreal 19-yard line. 1st down, Rayborn back to pass, hands off to Saunders, quick cut upfield, and another big gain close to the 1st down.
They got to get him in and out, but you know, when you have John Rayborn calling the signals, it's a guy who doesn't get many of the reps in practice, so a lot of those plays have to come in from the sideline. That takes more and more time off the clock.
The measurement on the play. Stefan Reed finally bringing Saunders down, and you're right, he's showing a lot of courage and leadership here in the late going of this blowout.
Yeah, he has all year. I mean, even when they've been blown out throughout the season, he's been the guy that, you know, is trying to lead by example, because the coaching staff looks at games like this very carefully. These are not films that they just throw in the garbage. They want to know who's still going hard, like that guy. You know, you want to know, if you're going hard like the kids are going hard here, then you have a chance to stay in the lineup.
Wearing Peter Delariva's old number. Tight ends here in Montreal. 2nd and short gain, and it will be a 1st down conversion for Saskatchewan as they threaten for the 1st time since early in the 1st half. Reggie Slack could be back next week.
Well, you know, and he can smile. I mean, he smiles over there. I mean, you know, inside it kills him that they're losing, and they're losing as badly as they are, but there's nothing he could have done about it today. Not with what he's wearing.
Yeah, right. There are the slim numbers of John Rayborn. 2 completions so far, 1 interception. And once again, Saskatchewan shows an extra lineman, much like a tight end situation. Daniels up in a tight end position, but the pass, show run, throw the ball, it's behind. and nearly intercepted. Intended receiver was Curtis Mayfield, but Mark Washington had a beat on that.
Well, if Mayfield doesn't become the defensive back, Mark Washington runs 105 yards.
And procedure is the call against Saskatchewan. Yes, that ball was behind, and
it was behind Curtis Mayfield. Washington had a great play on it, and Mayfield threw him on the ground, or else they're playing the fight song here in the stadium one more time.
Procedure, Saskatchewan, no end. Repeat first down.
No end, even though they had an extra man on the line, so perhaps he wasn't up far enough.
Yeah, here's the play. You see Washington was way underneath there, and he's going a long way. He's going to need oxygen after that one.
He's thinking, I'm going to beat Baron Miles' record for the year of 101 yards on the pick return.
Well, he would have, but not for the play of Mayfield.
So the penalty pushes the ball back across the 10-yard line. It's the first down over for Saskatchewan. Rayborn back to pass. Pressure. Throws it with a man hanging onto his ankles, and one hops it again. That could have been picked off if it was a few yards further.
Well, it's just you don't see the development. You don't see the evolution of the offense in Saskatchewan. They're running the same things on the same wristband that weren't working in the first half. And Montreal is playing a lot of their backups now, and they're still doing a pretty good job on it.
So it's second down. The ball just outside the 10-yard line. This is the longest drive of the game for Saskatchewan. 7 plays and counting. Rolling right is Rayborn. Has some time. Throws off his back foot into the end zone, and it's knocked down. Double coverage. Usman Tunkara was the intended receiver. There were 2 Montreal DBs in the vicinity.
John Rayborn had Don Narcisse open on the sideline, but he didn't see him, and Don Narcisse does not have a catch yet in this football game. So not only are the Riders going to lose, but Don Narcisse may lose a streak.
211 consecutive games, the pro football record, and indeed you're right, Glenn, he was wide open, settling on the sideline.
He was sitting there right in the corner of the end zone, just waving away. I'm open, hey, hey, hey. Rayborn doesn't see him.
Third down. Saskatchewan just outside the 10. They could get a first by getting to the goal line. Rayborn back to pass, will throw. It's tipped and intercepted. Mark Washington has it and will run it out of touch. Tunkara looked like he was open in behind, but the ball wasn't high enough. And so another turnover as the Saskatchewan quarterbacks have more trouble. While everything's going right, if you're a Montreal fan, a gorgeous day for football and a huge lead here on Thanksgiving Day Monday, 42-7. There's the Saskatchewan GM Al Ford, who said he'd leave his job if his team didn't make the playoffs. And now there's talk gaining momentum that Ron Lancaster, the head coach in Hamilton, is being considered to take over in Saskatchewan next year.
Rumors have been flying around about Ron Lancaster and Ron Lancaster Jr. possibly doing that. Ron Lancaster, of course, at the end of his contract at the end of this season, and then he won't talk about it definitely until the year is over. But, Alan Ford has done a lot of great things for the Saskatchewan Roughriders organization over the last 10 years, and of course was a player and has really grown up throughout the organization. But I think it's inevitable of what's going to happen in his position at the end of the season.
Also talk that George Reed, the great running back, might come back into the fold in some capacity in Saskatchewan. Of course, Lancaster coaching there 2 seasons, 2 and 14. This would bring him full circle if he did that. Here's Jones back to pass. A wobbly pass for Haskins is too high and out of bounds on the 2nd and 8 situation, so Montreal will be forced to punt.
Mark, there's no other way to describe that pass. That was just flat out ugly. that was just flat out ugly. Now, he doesn't get a lot of reps in practice, but he's going to take some ribbing about that one. That was one of those. I know it's Thanksgiving, but that was a turkey that was flying through the air.
So Jones goes back to consult with the quarterbacking brain trust in Montreal, Terry Baker, a 48.3 yard average. Tremendous day for him. His 4th punt of the game. High spiral. Bounces in front of Reggie Jones and Curtis Mayfield. There's flags on the play. The call will be no yards as the ball is returned by Sheldon Benoit to the end zone. Flags are down.
Well, Sheldon Benoit knows the rules, so he's got to know that, he's got to think that that ball was touched by Mayfield, because he knows the rules. You can't touch the ball if the returner hasn't touched it.
No yards. Montreal number 51. First down.
So there's Benoit, who thought he might have had one, but it didn't touch either of Mayfield or Jones, as Larry Smith enjoys the beating today. Welcome back to Percival Molson Stadium in Montreal, where the home team, the Alouettes, have a 42-7 lead. And the fans are enjoying it. This man with great balance. An old-time Alouette fan enjoying this one. And the Alouettes go to their third quarterback, or rather the Saskatchewan Roughriders go to their third quarterback, Mike Colley. Back to pass. And complete to Reggie Jones on his first throw of the game. And if I'm Cal Murphy, I'm thinking, get him this play at least, throw the ball to Don Narcisse.
Well, you want to keep that streak alive. At the very least, you maybe get that as a positive out of this one. At least with Mike Colley in the game, you got a little bit of CFL experience, spent some time in Hamilton. He was in Europe this past year. He had a wrist injury in Europe and couldn't finish the season, but he's got some CFL experience, fairly strong arm, a tough quarterback too.
Yeah, broke his jaw in Hamilton, hard-nosed.
Against Saskatchewan.
That's right.
Bobby Jurison hit him.
Play action, fake now. Colley rolling right. Completes it to Don Narcisse, a little dump pass, and so the streak is alive. 212 games with at least one catch, and look at the big smile on Don Narcisse.
You can't believe it. It's kind of a cheesy one over on the sideline, and Colley spent the whole game on the sideline, and every time Don Narcisse went over there, he probably just mentioned, if you get a shot at it, just remember, I still need my catch. And it's the sixth time throughout that great streak that Don Narcisse waited till the fourth quarter.
The streak continues. Colley pursued and sacked. No chance there as Stephen Reed and Alfred Payton put the meat hook into him.
Stephon Reed is another guy who really in the last 2 years has picked up his game, and he's really become a big play linebacker for him.
Big time pressure as Fairbrother had no chance to help.
Peyton, right after the game there, Mark, is going to go to the stats guy and see if he can maybe get one out of that. He's in a race with Mumford.
Take every sack he can get. Screen pass to Saunders. He's got some blockers and some big time yardage now to the 25-yard line, but there's a flag on the play. First down territory on that second and long situation. A 21-yard gain for Mike Saunders.
He's limping off the field. He's trying to get off. What would this team have been this year without Mike Saunders?
No kidding.
Wow. He has been their offense.
56 yards rushing so far in the day.
Holding, Saskatchewan number 60. Repeat, second down.
So Gene Mikowski called for holding, and that will nullify that 21-yard gain by Mike Saunders.
In fairness to Saskatchewan, this is something that I think needs to be brought up, is that they designed their offense in training camp around Reggie Slack. Reggie Slack is a running quarterback, an option quarterback, almost like the college days. So Cal Murphy designed his whole offense around that and then lost Reggie Slack. And the other guys he has aren't runners. They're drop back guys.
Well, it's second and a quarter of a mile, about 27 yards on the play. Colley looks to make a fake, then just threw the ball right into the hands of Irv Smith. Intercepted again. The Alouette secondary preying now on these young Saskatchewan quarterbacks. Smith still going, finally brought down by Reggie Jones. And you look of horror on the face of Richie Hall, and Sam Garza in the Saskatchewan box. Irv Smith making like a punt returner on that interception. His first on the day.
Well, you mentioned it was a quarter mile, and I guess this is probably the only play you have. Throw it to the other team, kind of like a punt.
And Reggie Jones, who made the first hit, then went out of bounds, came back, and then some dissension on the bench after that play. It looks like Robbie DeRossier and Mike Colley having some words after that Colley interception. Corby Jones hands off to Mike Soles, who finally gets to carry the rock for Montreal.
Yeah, there's some frustration, obviously, on the Saskatchewan bench. Obviously, Mike Colley thought that the play called wasn't the play that was run and was upset about it, and now Montreal just try and grind it out and finish this game and kind of put Saskatchewan out of their misery.
It's only Mike Soles' 5th carry of the season. Irv Smith soaks in the sunshine, and
they're having fun.
A nice day here in Montreal. Jones will pass out of the shotgun now. Another wobbly one over the head of Bolduc, who's in now at receiver for Montreal.
Well, I never played quarterback in the CFL, but it looks to me like Corby Jones is really taking a big step with his lead leg. And when you take that wide step, the ball tends to sail high on you, and a couple have got away on him, and you got to go back to the fundamentals.
We had a word there with Bolduc on the way off, trying to clear up any miscommunication on the play. And so Terry Baker will stand at his own 25 to punt for Montreal. 6:12 and ticking to go in the ball game. 42-7 Montreal leading. Baker gets a big one away. Curtis Mayfield has it go through his arms and into the end zone. And this one will bounce out of touch for a single. So another miscue for Saskatchewan, another point for Montreal.
Stop into Canadian Tire for everything you need to get your car back on track. Canadian Tire, still the right place to do it.
Terry Baker launched that one 90 yards, the longest of the season for him, as it went right through the arms and did not touch Curtis Mayfield.
Yeah, no, he wants to get in the stat parade. So, yeah, you know, Irv Smith and those guys in the secondary in Montreal having a great time picking off passes and running around getting sacks. And he said, well, now I can work on my punting average. Keeps his head down and launches one there.
That's going to balloon the average for the 37-year-old veteran. Canada, Ontario. Back at quarterback, it is Mike Colley. Will throw the hitch pass to Reggie Jones. He's got it. Breaks a tackle on Sanchez. Then faces about 5 more and is driven back and pays the price.
You know, this Montreal defense has been a little underrated this year, I truly believe. A lot of people talk at the beginning of the season, they talked about the Hamilton defense, how good it would be. And then they talked about the Toronto defense all year and how good it is. But this Montreal defense, you can see some gang tackling there. This Montreal defense is pretty darn good. And you know what? I think the strength is their secondary. Even when you got guys like Peyton and Sean Giddings in your linebacking core, their strength may be their secondary.
Second down and about 9. Holly completes it. Nikiasen, the rookie out of Idaho State, with the catch. That's his first catch ever as a Saskatchewan Roughrider. His first in the CFL, and it'll go for 15 yards and a first down.
They talk about the strength of their team in Montreal. Well, Steve Sarkisian knows what it is after today. It's their secondary.
6 interceptions.
He threw 3, Rayborn a couple, and then Mike Colley the last one. And, you know, this is a secondary in Montreal that is young. You know, they've got 2 first-year players. Baron Miles is in his 2nd year. Lester Smith and Irv Smith, really the only 2 guys with veteran experience, and yet they're still playing great football and have all year.
Sarkisian now leading the league with 20 interceptions on the season as Nikiasen takes the handoff. He came into the game with just 3 carries for -1 yard, so improving on both counts today with a 5-yard gain and a 2nd and 5 situation at midfield for Saskatchewan.
You were just looking at Lester Smith, and boy, are they happy they got him from Toronto at the beginning of the year. He runs the show back there, makes the checks. The experience, solid factor in the secondary.
Coached by Charlie Taft in college. Hot route pass in behind Curtis Mayfield as he looks around for the ball and takes his lumps.
I think Mayfield just wanted to deliver a blow there and get some frustration out, because he really didn't even look back for the ball. He just looked to run over Baron Miles.
And so it's a third down punt for Paul McCallum. 3rd and 5 as the frustrated Mayfield goes off the field. And
you know, there's another guy though that this offense can build around. If Curtis Mayfield can stay around a couple more years, he still is a deep threat and a big play player for him. You know, Mike Saunders is another one. Their offensive line is starting to become better than they were at the beginning of the year, and will continue to develop if they stay together.
Mayfield with the only touchdown as McCallum for Saskatchewan will fake it, and nobody's picked it up for Montreal. McCallum with all kinds of yards, finally forced out of bounds across the 35-yard line. The gain is 21 as Montreal was peeling back to set up the return.
And you know it's a tough day when one of your best offensive plays in the afternoon comes from your punter.
Yeah.
Right? And this is one of the best plays that they've had, and it comes from number 4. Alfonso Browning got a bit of a shot there right at the end of it, too. Shannon Garrett.
So McCallum enjoying that moment in the limelight. And that was the biggest rush of the game for Saskatchewan.
Yeah, there you go. That's a tough day. When your punter gets the longest run, you're in trouble. She doesn't care. She's loving it.
We mentioned at halftime that 60% of the fans coming to these games in Montreal are under the age of 35.
That's awesome.
It's a great shot in the arm for the Alouettes. Colley is blocked as he lets it go, and it's intercepted again by Irv Smith. This is becoming a horror show for Saskatchewan. Colley's 2nd interception of the game, both to Irv Smith, and Montreal goes back on offense. Irv Smith, the 5-year veteran out of Maryland, with his 2nd interception of the game and his 7th of the season. And Colley really took a shot here as he tried to deliver the pass.
Yeah, he gets pressure from the edge from Alfred Payton. Throws it up. Don Narcisse had slipped. Irv Smith comes up with the interception. And
Mike Soles replacing Mike Pringle as the primary running back now for Montreal.
Right now, you got to say either Saskatchewan Roughriders quarterbacks have all of a sudden become colorblind, or this is a real good secondary in Montreal.
Sarkisian is conversing with Reggie Slack, who can't like what he sees, and they'll be depending on him if he's healthy to come back next week.
Yeah, and I think he will be back next week. I had a conversation with him on the sideline before the game, and he said his injury feels pretty good, and he wants to play next week and get back into it.
Hand off to Soles again, and he is moving hard through the middle there and close to a 1st down. There's the ball hawk secondary, Montreal.
See, they're making it look like a practice right now. You know, they're out there running around, catching passes, intercepting balls, and then they go and sit on the helmet on the sideline. They just chat over what they're going to do for dinner tonight. This is fun now for them.
And we invite you to stay tuned for part 2 of our Thanksgiving Day doubleheader. The Edmonton Eskimos at BC Place to face the front-running Lions, who lead the league at 10-3, and of course BC will be the host this year of the Grey Cup, with the Lions hoping to get there, Montreal hoping to go back, and of course that would be a rematch of sorts of 94 when Baltimore got there.
That's right. The Lions close to clinching that home field too.
Mike Soles puts his head down and is dropped by Ken Benson.
I should say home field in the bye.
Yes.
They've already clinched home field in the playoffs. Now they got to clinch the bye. And Montreal's thinking the same way.
I wish my mom could be watching this game.
Yeah, that's the one when everyone in the secondary wants a copy of the tape.
Yeah.
You know, they all call and say, we want to keep that tape. That was like highlight reel for us.
So Corby Jones, the rookie, number 3 quarterback for Montreal, the secondary, with 8 interceptions today. Now enjoying the dying minutes. The pitch out, Mike Soles, and is hit hard by Willie Pless for a short gain, but it will be well shy of the 1st down.
Well, Mark, here's a stat for you. You saw that secondary sitting over there having a good time. They've had 8 interceptions today. The Saskatchewan Roughriders as a team
at week 14, have 8 interceptions.
Well, it tells you the whole story there.
That's it right there.
They feasted on Thanksgiving on the Saskatchewan quarterbacks, and as you mentioned, Saskatchewan with a porous defense. Many of the fans still staying on here in Montreal.
Well, it's fun here. And this is fun. I mean, they don't want to go home. It's a beautiful day. Their team's blowing out the other team, and they're having some good times out here.
Another skyrocket from Terry Baker, whose average today is 55.6 yards. Curtis Mayfield up the sideline and is pushed out of bounds by Mike Soles. A 57-yard punt by Terry Baker, and Mike Soles, who's been carrying the ball for Montreal, is the first man down. And let's look at the East Division. After this game, Montreal now into double figures in the win column, and the win will clinch a playoff spot for the Alouettes. Second place, though, still to be decided in a huge game next week. Toronto at Hamilton.
And Edmonton, you know, they're playing the BC Lions right after us, and Edmonton is concerned with Saskatchewan and Winnipeg, because in the crossover format, Winnipeg can still catch Edmonton and slide over into the West Division playoffs. So very important game out there in BC for the Edmonton Eskimos.
Despite the fact Saskatchewan's 3-11, they're still not eliminated.
That's right.
Kind of like the Ottawa Roughriders in 1981. They went to the Grey Cup at 5-11. The completion to the rookie Reggie Jones and about a 5-yard gain on the play. Remember that, 1981, Ottawa 5-11. They go to the Cup and they have a 20-1 lead on the Edmonton Eskimos, the powerhouse dynasty. And of course, that double interference call on Tony Gabriel, I'll never forget that ruined Ottawa's chances, and of course Edmonton came back to win.
You make the playoffs, anything can happen. You get on a roll. I mean, think of Saskatchewan in '97.
Yeah. 2nd and 5. Colley rolling right. Pull up and then throw a floater out of bounds. He had Don Narcisse on the sideline.
Well, I think Colley's at the point where he's saying, you know, rather than throw another interception, I'm going to throw it up into the stands, because that's the only place where I haven't seen a Montreal defender. So there's no DBs up there, so he wants to throw one up there to those guys. Now, I don't know if any of those guys would catch it. The ball may hurt one of those guys, but they're having some fun. And if they catch it, it's not an interception against the quarterback.
A lot more fun than this
he's
man.
having, yeah.
It's been a tough outing for all 3 of the Saskatchewan quarterbacks, a total of 8 interceptions. And, you know, talking to Cal Murphy yesterday, and we said, you know, how's Sarkisian doing this year? And there was a long pause, and his quote was, "We lead the league in interceptions."
Yeah. And that's been the thing, you know, and with Cal Murphy and the situation that Saskatchewan is in game and game out, first of all, they're always in the must-win game. They're always in the must-win, and they're always behind. So there's a lot of pressure on their quarterback.
Well, now the frustration beginning to show even more as James Monroe has been disqualified for an incident, and the ball has been pushed back to the 16-yard line.
Something that won't affect the game, but will affect his paycheck.
Yes. Callum punting from the 5, shanks it, and it goes out of bounds.
Although, Mark, some may argue that Saskatchewan shouldn't get paychecks.
Well, after the outing today, you'd wonder, Mike Pringle, 3 more touchdowns. How about that? 6 touchdowns in 2 games back-to-back against Saskatchewan.
You know, and one of the good things for Mike Pringle, and this isn't easy to do with him, is that he got to rest a lot of this game as well. He's not been used as much as he normally is. 19 carries. I mean, Pringle's usually up in the high 20s, and you know, he's not going to get his 100, but he's rested.
Well, that's an important point, because this is an AstroTurf league.
Yeah.
You know, 7 of the 8 teams play on the turf, and that, he was saying the other day, it takes a real toll on his joints.
You know, but it's hard to keep him out.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, it's really hard to keep him out of the game. You gotta pry him out of there.
First down, Montreal. Hand off to Mike Soles up the gut, and that entire pile moved about 5 yards.
Yeah, because the offensive linemen, they don't care what the score is. And I get Neil Ford over there cheering on the crowd, and they're having some fun too. They just go hard all the time. They just fire off and hit people from start to finish. So now they got the cheerleaders going now.
Well, they're saluting Mike Soles because with that rumble, he's just passed 3,000 yards in his career. And you know how much he's respected here. Here's a guy that knocks heads all game long as a blocker. And now he's finally getting some due as a ball carrier.
And I think the standing ovation for Michael Soles is just that, not necessarily the yardage that he's rushed for, but what he's been to this team when he doesn't have the football.
Mike Soles with the carry again. And a couple, he'll be about a yard short of the first down. 3,005 career rushing yards for McGill's Mike Soles. So it'll be 3rd and a yard. And Montreal will go for it with the time ticking off the clock now. They'll run it out. Tracy Ham back in the saddle, and a great outing for him. And that'll be the game as Corby takes a knee to run out the clock. Tracy Ham is back. Montreal wealthy at quarterback.
That final gun, the gun that put Saskatchewan out of their misery. It was a bad one for them.
A slaughter today in Montreal, 43-7. Ham and the Owls win big.
It was a football feast in Montreal as the Alouettes climbed their record to 10-4 with a spectacular 43-7 victory over the Saskatchewan Roughriders. The guys in the Prairies had a rough day with Tracy Ham, a new tradition of Thanksgiving. Ham, I guess, but Tracy back in the lineup after the injury. How did you feel out there today?
Well, I felt good. I was a little rusty early, but I was able to find my rhythm as the game went on. The guys up front just did a tremendous job for us, and I think that's what always starts with the guys up front.
What was the game plan going in against the Riders? What did you see?
Well, we just wanted to establish the line of scrimmage so that we could play action and run the ball and then be able to push the ball downfield. Once we were able to establish the line of scrimmage, then we could do a lot of other things.
How important was it to get in the lineup and get the start against perhaps you'd say a weaker opponent?
Well, I just need reps. I mean, you always have a mutual respect for your guys you're playing against because they're professionals as we are. I just wanted to go out and try to get myself in a position where I can make plays for us, get my timing back, and just get back in the feel of the game.
You took a knock on the knee in the first half. How is it?
Well, it worked out well. I was able to stay in the game without any pain, which was important for me.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Tracy Ham and the Montreal Alouettes thundering to victory, 43-7 over the Saskatchewan Roughriders. We'll be back with more from Montreal as we continue the CFL on CBC on Thanksgiving Monday right after this. Stay with us. An unforgettable Thanksgiving Monday in Montreal as the Alouettes hammered the Saskatchewan Roughriders by a final score of 43-7. A very special day for this Alouettes club. Tracy Ham back in the fold. 2 touchdowns for him. A defense that intercepted Saskatchewan quarterback 7 times. 1 short of the league record. This team has clinched at least a playoff spot at home, all the way perhaps to the Eastern Final. Montreal dominating the Riders as they were expected to on Thanksgiving Day. Now we head out to the West Coast. It was perfect outside of Montreal. It's perfect indoors in BC, as it always is. Second half of our doubleheader coming up. BC and Edmonton. Let's go to Steve Armitage at BC Place.